the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76. On the way back. After walking for a while, Zhang Xingyun saw several pomelo fruit trees. Needless to say, there must be elves occupying them. Looking at the map, there are no elite elves here, and the tribes are all ordinary. But the elite elves that appear occasionally are not counted. Zhang Xingyun released Huaidi and Electabuzz, preparing to pick some fruit from the trees. Huaidi is relatively small, so he stayed by Zhang Xingyun's side as a bodyguard. After Zhang Xingyun possessed Electabuzz, the energy fluctuations on his body became much stronger. Electabuzz walked under the fruit tree and shouted at Butterfree on the tree. Electabuzz picked 4, and Butterfree didn't respond. But when Electabuzz wanted to pick more, Butterfree pretended to fight. Electabuzz, 4 is fine, come back. Hey boo, don't be greedy, that's enough. They have 3 ordinary elves, 1 mid-stage and 2 late stage, that's enough. Hey boo. Electabuzz picked up the fruit from the tree and turned to leave. Several Butterfree were also relieved. They saw that the powerful Electabuzz didn't want to fight, so they could make some concessions, but not too many. Hey boo, no, that's enough. In this special period, it's best to be steady. Electabuzz handed all 4 pomelo fruits to him, indicating that it could get a few more tree fruits, but Zhang Xingyun thought of some reasons and refused. Huaidi called Electabuzz in admiration like a little fangirl. Electabuzz was very proud of this, and he did some fitness exercises to show off his strong muscles. Let's go, stop showing off, and deal with the tree fruits. Huaidi sat on Zhang Xingyun's shoulder, and Electabuzz stood behind him, looking for a suitable place to rest. In a very good place, Zhang Xingyun took out the things and dealt with them, and also let Nidorino and Pidgeot out to feed and use medicine. Unfortunately, the medicines were all low grade, and Nidorino and Pidgeot were still not completely healed. Zhang Xingyun threw away his original camouflage uniform and put on a piece of clothes he had picked up. Zhang Xingyun planned to walk a little further, then put away the electric beast and let Huaidi come out. He changed his breath again to prevent the person who attacked him. Zhang Xingyun was afraid that this would be useless, but he still had to do it, just in case. There were a lot of tree fruits in the space backpack. When he sold them, he would make about 100,000 yuan, but in the short term, he was in a state of bankruptcy. Although he usually made a lot of money when he went out hunting, like this time, he was close to bankruptcy and almost lost his life. Trainers also go out hunting, making a lot of money, but they also spend a lot and have great risks. Some people who take the path of non-trainers have incomes that are not worse than those of trainers, with lower risks and stable incomes. Zhang Xingyun rubbed his hair and was a little worried. If he could return to Changning City, he would not dare to go out hunting for a short time. God knows if that person would come to attack him. In Changning City, it is at least safer than in the wild. Then again, the money in the bank card was to be used to pay the previous fee, and his reserve resources were lost or gone. This meant that Nidorino and the others would grow much slower, which was something Zhang Xingyun could not accept. Now he had to train Huaidi, which required even more resources. Well, let's see when the time comes. I dare not come to the wild again for the time being. Maybe he could be a security guard or patrolman in the city. For example, Zhang Xingyun was a patrolman in the first mission. He was now an ordinary trainer, and the pay would not be low. It might be okay to maintain the basic training of a few Pokémon, but it was not feasible to provide them with high-speed development. Pucci, Team Rocket, why the hell are you staring at a small person like me? If you have the ability, go get Linfeng. At worst, some high-ranking officials in Changning City will do. Zhang Xingyun murmured in anger. Seeing that Zhang Xingyun was a little strange, Huaidi asked. I'm fine, don't worry. Zhang Xingyun smiled at Huaidi. If he comes again, he will choose to take it. The system evolution is of great help to him. Moreover, wherever he was at that time, the members of Team Rocket who followed him would not let him go. After resting, he followed the map to walk selectively. Along the way, Zhang Xingyun also looted several novice tribes, but there were no Pokeballs to put in. But this did not affect it. He dissected the Pokémon and sold it as Pokémon materials. Although the price is cheaper than living Pokeballs, this is what he has to do without Pokeballs. There is no way. Zhang Xingyun is so poor that he can get as many as he can. Normally, Zhang Xingyun would not kill the defeated Pokémon and make them into materials. He would put them in Pokeballs and then sell them. Times have changed. Serpentine Bear. Zhang Xingyun squatted down and dissected the Serpentine Bear lying on the ground. After sorting it out, he retreated. The smell of blood would attract some Pokémon. At present, Zhang Xingyun is playing it safe. Electric Beast, come into the Pokeball. Hey boo. You don't need to protect me. Flowery D can do it too. The main thing is that I'm afraid of the person who attacked us originally. Don't worry, you can also sense the outside world when you are in the Pokeball. Come out if the situation is not good. Hey boo Electric Beast was put into the Pokeball by Zhang Xingyun. He let Flowery D sit on his shoulders and then tidied himself up a little. He ran towards the exit. I don't know why, but where the motorcycle was parked, he didn't encounter the person who attacked him. This made Zhang Xingyun breathe a sigh of relief, but he couldn't relax. Maybe he was at the exit? Now there was something that made Zhang Xingyun very upset. His motorcycle was missing. Yes, there was a lock where it was originally parked. God damn it, which street kid stole my motorcycle? Zhang Xingyun felt that this day was a little dark. The loss of the motorcycle made him, who was not rich to begin with, even worse. Zhang Xingyun even suspected that he had used up all his luck when he went out hunting in the wild before, so he was so miserable these days. Alas, Zhang Xingyun could only take a Yeti and walk towards the exit. Now Zhang Xingyun was thinking about how to get out of the Yangtze forest. Originally, he planned to take a motorcycle and go out from another border instead of going out from the exit. But now the motorcycle is gone, and he can't run fast, and he can't use instant movement all the time. The chance of being discovered is very high. What if the rocket team comes with 2 people? What about 3 people? Can he still run away? Zhang Xingyun didn't dare to bet his life on the mercy of the rocket team. For a moment, Zhang Xingyun didn't know what to do. A loud bird call came from above Zhang Xingyun. Xingyun, are you okay? A Pidgeot landed not far in front of Zhang Xingyun, and on the back of the Pidgeot stood Vice Principal Wang. Chapter 77, Commander's Response. The person who came was Wen Qingxiang, Vice Principal Wang. Seeing Vice Principal Wang, Zhang Xingyun breathed a sigh of relief. Now he was safe. Xingyun, what happened to you? You have been out of contact for several days. Wen Qingxiang jumped off the back of Pidgeot and asked Zhang Xingyun. Teacher, I was. Zhang Xingyun said that he was chased by the rockets and used all means to escape, and then, okay, the disaster is over and things will be better in the future. After listening to Zhang Xingyun's story, Wen Qingxiang hugged him and comforted him. Teacher, that person is probably still here. After hugging, Zhang Xingyun expressed his concerns. Don't worry, wait a minute, I will notify Teacher Wang Yu first, he is here too. After Wen Qingxiang finished speaking, he took out his mobile phone and said a few words to the phone. Teacher Wang Yu is here too, and the student is very grateful. There is no need to say thank you. You are a student of number 9 middle school, and you have brought a lot of honor to number 9 middle school, and this is what you should do. Wen Qingxiang comforted him and chatted with Zhang Xingyun, asking some questions about what is suitable for spending these days. With the sturdy Houndoom and Wang Yu ran over from a distance. Xingyun, what's wrong with you? I can't get through on the phone, and you're in such a mess now. Wang Yu asked with concern, as soon as they met. After Zhang Xingyun briefly explained what happened, at the suggestion of Wen Qingxiang, Zhang Xingyun and Vice Principal Wang rode on the Pidgeot, and Wang Yu rode on the elf. The 3 rushed back to Changning City. Damn, it seems that this mission has failed. Not far from the entrance, a sneaky figure looked at Zhang Xingyun flying in the sky and was so angry that he hammered the big tree next to him and said hatefully. He underestimated the enemy that day and was injured in one eye by Zhang Xingyun's grenade. Now he has one normal eye and an artificial eye. This time, he lost both his wife and his soldiers. He didn't complete the mission and got himself injured. Sorry, the master only gave me 10 days. If I can't complete the mission, I will be miserable. Thinking of his boss's brutal appearance, the figure trembled a few times. Zhang Xingyun and his group stopped near Changning City, and Wang Yu drove over. He drove Zhang Xingyun and Vice Principal Wang to the school. It turned out that they couldn't contact Zhang Xingyun 4 days ago. They called many times but didn't answer. So they went to Zhang Xingyun's place to look for him, but couldn't find him. They thought something was wrong. When they called in the afternoon, it didn't work. Then, they investigated and found out that Zhang Xingyun went out hunting in the wild. He hasn't returned yet. Since that league, Zhang Xingyun has been valued by Principal Li Yuning. After hearing the news, Wang Yu and Vice Principal Wang and several teachers were sent to Yangxing Forest to look for him. Coincidentally, when Zhang Xingyun came out today, he was sensed by Vice Principal Wang's elf. Next, this is the scene in front of you. Xingyun, you have to be more careful these days. It's better to report to the search officer. That's the evil organization Rocket Team, so you have to pay more attention to it, Wang Yu said while driving. I will. Yeah. Zhang Xingyun didn't expect that he was so valued, and he was very moved. Even if this disaster is over, with Changning's public security, except for the top kings or champions, as long as you stay in the city, the safety problem is still okay. Xingyun, if you need it, you can also come to the school for help. You are a student of number 9 middle school, and the teachers will not sit idly by. When King Xiang reminded him again. Teacher, I will. After rushing to the school, Principal Li Yuning also came out to understand the situation. Then he arranged for Zhang Xingyun to rest in school for a while and let Zhang Xingyun go home. Afterwards, Zhang Xingyun went home to take a shower, and then wore the clothes he bought on the road, and appeared in the lobby of the Elf Center. On this day, he was given another day off, so Zhang Xingyun came to the Elf Center. Along the way, it was difficult to kill him in this prosperous place, unless that person was willing to expose himself. Don't forget that Zhang Xingyun is a capable person with a strong intuition, plus the life-saving skill of teleportation. He can't be killed in a short time. When the public security forces arrive, the masked man will definitely be taken down with his elite strength. As for the quasi-kings and the kings, Zhang Xingyun felt that it was impossible for them to come and kill a small figure like him. They were also very busy. They sent elite trainers to attack and kill him, an ordinary trainer. It was already very qualified, not to mention the quasi-kings. Is that Uncle Ling? I'm Zhang Xingyun. Oh, it's Xingyun. What's the matter? In an office in the high-rise building of the Pokémon Center, Ling Feng answered the phone. Zhang Xingyun had a great influence on him. In addition, he was a power user, and the Battle of the Kings had not happened long ago, so he naturally knew something about this junior. Uncle Ling, I was attacked and killed by the rockets in the Cloud Star Forest a few days ago. That's right. Where are you? I'm in the lobby of the Pokémon Center. Come up to my office. I've greeted you. Okay. Zhang Xingyun said a few words and hung up the phone. He walked into the elevator, and then, under the guidance of a young lady who claimed to be a secretary, he came to Ling Feng's office. Come on, take a seat, tell me the details. After Zhang Xingyun walked into the office, Ling Feng greeted him, and the secretary brought a cup of tea and placed it on the table. Uncle Ling, this is what happened that day. Zhang Xingyun told the story of that day, and he told the details of the attacker. I see. It seems like a mistake at work. I'm sorry, Xingyun. After listening, Ling Feng sighed and said to Zhang Xingyun apologetically, Uncle Ling, you are too polite. Maybe there are other reasons. Zhang Xingyun replied. According to your description, this person has a bat mask on his face and a cross-shaped bat. It is likely that he is a subordinate of the quasi-king of the Rocket Team, VIP, the Blood Bat. Ling Feng roughly judged it after a little thought, took out a file bag, took out a photo, and showed it to Zhang Xingyun. Is this person roughly like this? Zhang Xingyun took the photo handed over by Ling Feng with both hands, took a look at it, and replied, yes, that's the person. That's right. In that case, your attack this time will not be simple. Uncle Ling, this. Remember, the king of Team Rocket whom I intercepted a while ago. Remember, there is a trainer of some quasi-god 3-headed dragon. That's called Keelang. He's a senior executive of Team Rocket. His subordinate is Viper, and Viper's subordinate is Bloodbat. Do you understand now? Then am I being targeted by the king? Zhang Xingyun's face turned ugly. This is not good news. Chapter 78 Guardian Spirit. Heavenly King. This is still very far from Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun didn't know how long it would take to reach that realm. Now that he was targeted by a Heavenly King, then, you don't have to worry so much. The Heavenly King will not kill you personally. After hearing Ling Feng's words, Zhang Xingyun thought about it and felt that it made sense. The Heavenly King must have a lot of things to do, and it is very likely that he will not come to kill a small person like him. But his subordinates will. You have to be careful. Yes, he doesn't have to do it himself, but he has subordinates. A master of the Heavenly King level, just saying that he is an elite. This is not something he can handle. Uncle Ling, I was also a contributor to the society at the beginning. Can I get some help with this? Zhang Xingyun asked softly. He handed in the suitcase at the beginning and heard that it was an item of a divine beast. So, he still has some credit, so let's try to see if he can get help. Do you still remember that I gave you a candidate for the position of a direct descendant? I remember. Although he didn't know why Ling Feng said this, Zhang Xingyun still answered truthfully. Have you learned about the Rookie Cup? I've heard of it. Zhang Xingyun was a little confused. Why did he talk about the Rookie Cup? As long as you win, you can become a direct descendant trainer. Then what does this have to do with what I'm facing now? Of course it has something to do with it. As long as you win, you can get the attention of the relevant departments. In special cases, you can also apply for a Guardian Spirit. Guardian Spirit? Zhang Xingyun asked with some doubt. Yes, Guardian Spirit, as the name suggests, is to protect the trainer who won the Rookie Cup. After Ling Feng finished speaking, he picked up the teacup, took a sip, and then spoke slowly. There are several requirements. One is that you have made contributions to the government, which you have met. The second is that while making contributions, you have caused subsequent malicious retaliation, which you have also met. The third is the identity of a direct descendant. So, as long as you win the Rookie Cup, you will also meet the third point. It is related, right? Zhang Xingyun suddenly realized and smiled. By the way, the policy has changed this year. Ling Feng looked at Zhang Xingyun who was smiling and said again, may I ask Uncle Ling, what has changed? Zhang Xingyun put away his smile and asked humbly, I learned in advance that the Rookie Cup can only be participated by those who have registered for less than 1 year and are novice Pokémon. That is to say, all the novice Pokémons will be commanded to fight, and ordinary Pokémons cannot play, and try to take care of fairness as much as possible. Zhang Xingyun thought about it and understood. Yes, I think the government should take care of those novice trainers, and be more fair. The results of previous year's competitions are really ugly. The original intention of the Rookie Cup was to prepare for rookie trainers, but as time went on, ordinary level ones were common. In recent years, elite Pokémons have also appeared. If this goes on, the poor trainers will not be taken care of. Those who are short of resources and do not have sufficient knowledge will be overtaken by the wealthy at the beginning. In the past 10 years, the champions are all trainers from wealthy families. This year, the government has made reforms to take care of the poor as much as possible. But even if the elves of the same novice period fight, the rich are still stronger. The elves' qualifications, skill balls, energy blocks, and some other things are relatively better for trainers from wealthy families. But this is already very fair, taking care of all newcomers as much as possible. If you have a novice elf, cultivate it for the time being. If not, there is still time to start cultivating it. With your ability and wisdom, I think it will not be difficult to win. Thank you for telling me, Uncle Ling. Zhang Xingyun stood up and bowed, thanking him. If Ling Feng hadn't mentioned it today, he wouldn't have known. You were attacked. I'm more or less responsible. How about this? Ling Feng took out a piece of paper, handed it to Zhang Xingyun, and said, sign your name. Your situation is special. I can make the decision. First, provide an elite guardian elf to protect you. Don't you want a direct descendant? Zhang Xingyun asked. Since you are a special person with special abilities, this is feasible. Thank you, Uncle Ling. Zhang Xingyun signed his name and handed it back. Ling Feng looked at it for a few seconds, said a few words to the phone, and put the paper into the file bag. Uncle Ling, my being attacked means that my itinerary has been exposed and I received the task at the Elf Center. I will check this. You can rest assured. Dong dong dong. Someone knocked on the door. Please come in. A staff member walked in with a elf ball in his hand, put it away, and left. Take a look at this elf. Do you think it's okay? Zhang Xingyun clicked the elf ball, and a red figure appeared. It was a giant mantis. The system interface was about to display the information of this giant mantis. Name, mantis attribute, bug plus steel qualification, light green characteristics, bug premonition strength, late elite skills, glare, lightning flash, bullet punch, cross scissors. Quite good. Mantis is not only strong, but also handsome. It is a guardian elf trained by the government. After coming out, it looked at Zhang Xingyun for a few times and determined the target. After confirming it, it was put back into the Pokeball. Thank you, Uncle Ling. Thank you very much. Well, the guardian elf is at most the late elite stage. You'd better keep a low profile. The government's protection is also limited. I understand. As for Bloodbat, you have Mantis, plus you can teleport. You can delay a lot of time. It may be that the trainer was considering whether he would commit suicide and cause the king to attack him personally. The government will not pay for a trainer who is too ostentatious. Now for Zhang Xingyun, the late elite mantis is enough. After chatting for a few more words, Zhang Xingyun said goodbye and left. He didn't expect that coming here, he could get so many benefits, and he could also know the inside information of the Rookie Cup, giving him more time to prepare. Direct lineage, I will definitely do it. I heard that there will be a good starter Pokemon by then. Zhang Xingyun, in a good mood, returned to school and told Wang Yu and Wen Qingxiang about it. They were a little surprised that Zhang Xingyun knew Ling Feng, but after listening to the story, they understood. Ling Feng has a good reputation in Changling City and takes good care of rookie trainers. After learning that Zhang Xingyun has an elite level giant mantis to protect him, they also felt relieved. In this way, Zhang Xingyun's safety in Changling City does not need to be worried. He also took some things home by the way. Since the Battle of the Kings, Changling City has strengthened patrols, supplemented by cameras. As long as the Bloodbat dares to appear, it is hard to say who will die this time. You know, the ability to teleport has a strong ability to survive. Chapter 79 Daily Life at School. In the evening, Zhang Xingyun came out of the hospital, and the balance in his card had decreased by hundreds of thousands. But Nidorino and the others, including Huaidi, had their injuries treated, and if they were not injured, they were treated as physical examinations. In this regard, no matter how poor you are, you cannot be poor in Pokemon. He sold all the harvests and spent the money in the hospital. Now, after paying off the credit card, Zhang Xingyun only had more than 80,000 left in his card. He bought a bunch of ingredients in the vegetable market and took a taxi back home. He walked into the house and released all the Pokemon. Huaidi was curious, so Electabuzz accompanied it and familiarized itself with the facilities in the house. And Mantis stayed in the Pokeball and did not come out. Soon, the fragrance filled the living room, and Huaidi curiously went into the kitchen. Standing on Electabuzz's shoulder, he shouted, Hua, the general idea was what this thing was. Why was it so fragrant? It was better than the fruit salad we had in the forest that day. This dish is called stir-fried Quintero meat. It's meaty. With these ingredients, it's definitely delicious. Hua, when you evolve and want to make it, I'll teach you. You probably can't even hold a tool now. Zhang Xingyun packed up the stir-fried Quintero meat and took all the cooked food out and put it on the table in the living room. He took out a bowl, put in the fried and fragrant food, and added the chopped fruit pieces. He called a few elves to eat. He prepared another portion, took it aside, and released the giant mantis. He greeted it enthusiastically, and the giant mantis' attitude towards Zhang Xingyun was pretty good. At Zhang Xingyun's enthusiastic invitation, it picked up the bowl and started eating. Maybe it sweeted its appetite, so it ate quite satisfactorily. Zhang Xingyun naturally understood the matching of food. He matched the food with the taste of the person. Otherwise, Zhang Xingyun would not cook 6 or 7 dishes for each meal. As for the giant claw mantis, Zhang Xingyun took out his newly bought mobile phone when he was in the car, checked it, and did his homework. However, this is also a little better in taste, and in terms of energy blocks are better. Now, among the elves eating, only the bowl of the Pidgeot still has a few primary energy blocks. The other elves are just tree fruits. This is the only way for the time being. After this experience, they almost lost their lives. Now they can only eat these first. Maintain the consumption of the body. Zhang Xingyun still has the opportunity to choose treasures in school, and there are 3000 points. This is also a resource. Go ask tomorrow how much these 3000 points are worth, and exchange them for some money first. Zhang Xingyun thought. After dinner, Zhang Xingyun washed up and sat in the living room, holding a cotton cloth to help Huoyed wipe the moisture off his body. And the elves, since the evolution of the electric shock beast, if they want to wash, they let the electric shock beast go to the flower shower. They wash themselves. When Zhang Xingyun is free, he will also help wash. After seeing Pidgeot come out, Zhang Xingyun stood up and wiped Pidgeot's body. Then he wiped Nidorino and Electabuzz as well. Zhang Xingyun did not find these daily trivial matters troublesome, but instead increased his intimacy with the elves. Soon, a night passed. The next day, Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed and opened his eyes. He exhaled, got up and stretched his body, and then went to wash up. After washing up, several elves woke up. After a burst of noise, Zhang Xingyun cooked the food first. He took the elves out for a run to stretch their bodies. Of course, Pidgeot was flying in the sky, and from time to time he would do some difficult moves. Morning exercise is just a habit. Zhang Xingyun does not want to spend a good morning in a lazy bed. After this attack, Zhang Xingyun understood the importance of physical fitness even more. After exercise, he returned home, had breakfast, and drove the newly bought electric car. He drove to the school, with Floret sitting on his shoulders, and Nidorino and the others were in the Pokeball. Along the way, with Floret's curiosity and Zhang Xingyun's answers, they soon arrived at the school. At this time, the school was already in September, and the first and second year students of high school had also started school. Compared with usual, there were many more people. After parking the car, Zhang Xingyun walked into the school and followed the crowded students to the classroom. Looking at the younger students playing and looking carefree, Zhang Xingyun was very envious. He used to be like this, but now he doesn't have this condition. For the cultivation resources of the Pokémons, he has to run around. It's a bit tiring, but this is the way he has to go. A male classmate didn't know what he said to the female classmate next to him. In the shame and anger of the female classmate, he took his school bag and chased after her, causing laughter from his companions around him. Turning around, he also saw several students holding the Pokémon encyclopedia in their hands, muttering to themselves, looking a little nervous, and muttering. A few classmates came up behind him, and they put their arms around each other's shoulders. They talked about something, and then they put away the Pokémon encyclopedia. They looked relaxed, and they walked away laughing. Maybe he didn't do his summer homework well, and he ran into a few close friends who also didn't do their homework. Oh, yes. Today is the first and second year high school students coming to class. Zhang Xingyun had forgotten about this after what he had experienced in the past few days. After he entered the classroom and put his school bag away, several classmates including Gao Yuan came over to ask about the recent situation. Zhang Xingyun briefly explained and thanked the classmates for their concern. After chatting for a while, everyone returned to their seats. After a while, Wang Yu brought Zhao Xiaofeng and the other two to the classroom. While announcing that the three would enter class 20, he also arranged the 3 students with the worst grades in this month to other classes. It turned out that during the days when Zhang Xingyun was in the wild, the school held an academic exam. But Zhang Xingyun did not have a monthly exam, so he stayed firmly in class 20. He is an ordinary trainer, and he has one great honor for the school. The most important thing is that Zhang Xingyun is a capable person. Therefore, Zhang Xingyun did not take the academic exam, and after discussion with several teachers, he stayed in class 20. People who are too outstanding do have preferential treatment in some aspects, just like Zhang Xingyun now. After waiting for the introductions of several people, Wang Yu asked them to go down and find seats. Zhao Xiaofeng and others smiled and nodded at Zhang Xingyun when they passed by. Zhang Xingyun also smiled back. Song Weizhou and Zhao Xiaofeng sat together in the front row of Zhang Xingyun. Zhao Qingying sat with a girl in the class. Seeing that they were whispering, they should know each other. The bell rang for the end of get out of class. Zhao Xiaofeng turned around and chatted with Zhang Xingyun for a while. The bell for class rang. The teacher for class also came, and Zhang Xingyun entered the state of learning and learning knowledge. He had previewed a lot of things, and with his ability to develop all aspects of the body, his memory was also very good. This class passed quickly. As soon as the get out of class was over, teacher Wang Yu came over and said to Zhang Xingyun that Principal Li Yuning wanted to see him and asked him to come over. Chapter 80, Training of Electabuzz. After Zhang Xingyun packed up his textbooks, he followed teacher Wang Yu to Principal Li Yuning's office. After entering the office, teacher Wang Yu said goodbye and left. But Principal Li Yuning was practicing calligraphy. Holding a large brush in his hand, he wrote the last word fly on a piece of white paper on the table in a flamboyant manner. The 4 big characters spread your wings and fly high appeared on the paper. It seems that Principal Li Yuning has a good foundation in calligraphy. The words he wrote are vigorous and powerful, with unique meanings. The principal's calligraphy skills are not inferior to those of professional calligraphy scholars. Zhang Xingyun looked at the 4 powerful words and said, "Ha ha ha, it's just a hobby. Come and sit down. I'll go wash my hands." Principal Li Yuning put the brush away, walked to the place where he washed his hands, sat back on the sofa, and made a cup of tea for Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun took the hot tea, took a sip, and asked, "Principal, is there something you want me to do?" "Yes, there are some things. You have lost a lot of property. After discussing with several leaders, I decided to send you another resource." Principal Li Yuning said lightly while pouring tea. "How can this be possible? It's too expensive." Zhang Xingyun refused. "Xingyun, don't feel embarrassed. This is what you deserve. If you are willing to go to other schools, I believe you will get more. But you haven't gone yet. As your teachers, we have to fight for some resources for you. Don't worry, this is also applied to the Education Bureau." Principal Li Yuning signaled Zhang Xingyun not to be embarrassed and explained slowly. Then, he took out 6 boxes and 2 books from the storage space. These 6 boxes of energy cubes are for your Nidoking, Electabuzz, and Pidgeot. They are intermediate energy cubes and can sustain you for a while. As for these 2 books, I know that your original Nidoking training manual is probably lost. This one is a photocopy. There is also a Pidgeot training manual, an elite version. Principal Li Yuning explained the things on the table one by one. "Isn't this too much?" Not much. There are not many people with special abilities. Moreover, when I applied to the Education Bureau yesterday, I found that you are a quasi-direct member. In addition, you are a person with special abilities, so you have 6 boxes of energy cubes. Then these 2 training manuals are yours? Yes, you are a very talented child as a trainer. As your teacher, I naturally have to show my appreciation. You can't refuse. Then I will accept them shamelessly." Zhang Xingyun accepted these things a little embarrassedly and thanked Principal Li Yuning again and again. "Student Xingyun." Principal Li Yuning said a little seriously. "Principal, please. I hope that, when you have the ability in the future, you can help the poor students more if conditions permit. The road to becoming a trainer for our poor students is not easy." "Principal, I will. After that, I hope you can contribute to Changning and the great changes of the times," Li Yuning said with a heavy face. "I will." After chatting for a few more words, Zhang Xingyun said goodbye and left. More and more secret realms are coming, and more things are caused. I hope that in the future turmoil, you can contribute to your hometown. Principal Li Yuning looked at the direction where Zhang Xingyun left and murmured, "I'm old, and the times belong to the young." After the theoretical class this morning, Zhang Xingyun didn't plan to go back to the classroom. Earlier, Zhang Xingyun told teacher Wang Yu that he would use some of the school's equipment to train Pokémon. After arriving at the place, Zhang Xingyun released the 4 Pokémon. The giant claw mantis didn't want to come out and quietly stayed in the Pokéball to rest. Nido Flower Habu Pie. After the 4 Pokémon came out, they stretched their bodies. It was good to rest in the Pokéball, but they couldn't train. Except for Florisha, they all liked training. They liked the feeling of getting stronger and stronger. Zhang Xingyun took out the weight-bearing equipment and put it on Pidgeot. He then specified a few difficult requirements for Pidgeot to train. These weight-bearing equipment were left at home because Zhang Xingyun thought it took up space, but they kept it instead for Pidgeot to train. As for Nidorino, it was training the explosive power of the body and developing melee skills. Nidorino's melee ability is very strong. Before, it used long-range skills just to be safe. When Nidorino evolves into Nidoking, it will be a very powerful Pokémon in both long-range and melee attacks. As for Florisha, Zhang Xingyun didn't have its cultivation secrets yet, so he didn't train it. He let it watch from the side and feel the training atmosphere. Electabuzz was trained more intensively. Nidorino and Pidgeot had been advanced to the normal level for a while. They can both do some training. As for Electabuzz, from the very beginning, he needed guidance. Zhang Xingyun had some ideas about Electabuzz's training earlier. Now that Electabuzz has evolved, this idea can be implemented. Electabuzz, I have a very good idea, which is mainly about the skill of electromagnetic field. Hey boo, how big can your electromagnetic field be now? Release it and see. Hey boo. Electabuzz used the electromagnetic field. There was an irregular area on the ground with Electabuzz as the center point. It was about 5 or 6 square meters. Let's start with the skill of electric ball. See if you can control it through the induction of the electromagnetic field when the electric ball leaves your hand. Try it. Hey boo, hey boo. Zzzz. There were a few arcs of electricity on the ground near Electabuzz. Bang, an electric ball in Electabuzz's hand, under the control of Electabuzz, flew out after a short pause and hit the grass not far away. Hey boo. Electabuzz said that the skill of electricity was more difficult to control, and it was extremely unstable at the moment of stabilization. Nidorino and Pidgeot both looked over, and after Zhang Xingyun indicated that it was alright, they continued their training. Let's do this. Zhang Xingyun took out the electric pulse machine from the system space. The thunderstones on the machine had not been used up yet. He put the lead on Electabuzz and adjusted the gear to the first gear. Electabuzz, use this level of energy and see if you can control it. Hey, boo. Electabuzz condensed another electric ball. Compared with the previous one, this one was less powerful. The electric ball stayed in Electabuzz's hand for a longer time. Electabuzz, feel it. Let the electric ball leave your hand not far away and see if you can control it. Hey, boo. When the electric ball was more than 10 centimeters away from Electabuzz's hand, it shook and flew in one direction. With a bang, Zhang Xingyun's training failed again. No one has come to this training ground yet. It can be used to train Electabuzz's unstable skill. Chapter 81, Ordinary Midterm and Competition. A battle was going on at the training ground of Changning No. 9 Middle School. Snorkeling Weasel, get out of the way. Float, float. Snorkeling Weasel jumped up and dodged Nidorino, who had just jumped out of the hole. Snorkeling Weasel, Sonic Boom. Zhao looked at Nidorino, who had just jumped out of the field, and ordered Snorkeling Weasel, float. Snorkeling Weasel flicked its tail and launched several sonic booms, rushing towards Nidorino. Shadow Ball. Nidorino quickly condensed a shadow ball as big as a basketball and rushed towards the attacking sonic boom. The shadow ball shattered the attacking sonic boom, and it still had some power left, so it attacked. Bang, the shadow ball was shattered by a true energy circle of Snorkeling Weasel. It turned out that when Zhang Xingyun was training on the training ground, Zhao Xiaofeng and Song Weishao from the class came over. Seeing Zhang Xingyun training, Zhao Xiaofeng also became interested, so he proposed a Pokémon battle with Zhang Xingyun. After Nidorino recovered from his injury, his strength reached the middle stage of normal. Zhang Xingyun also wanted to see how Nidorino performed. So this scene happened. In the two Pokémons fighting on the field, Nidorino had the upper hand in general. Snorkeling Weasel is the evolved form of Zhao Xiaofeng's Swimming Weasel. Nidorang had fought against it in the game just after school started. Name, Snorkeling Weasel attribute, water qualification, light green characteristics, swimming freely strength, normal initial skills, howl, sonic boom, water gun, chase, water spray, lightning flash, shadow clone, ice fist. At this time, Nidorino shot out more than a dozen groups of poisonous mud bombs and attacked at a very fast speed. Float Snorkeling Weasel, under the command of its trainer, was covered in water and used a water spray to disperse the poisonous mud bombs while rushing towards Nidorino. Seeing this, Nidorino also ran and jumped with the help of a large rock not far away. A hand glowed and collided with the rushing Snorkeling Weasel. Float. Snorkeling Weasel retreated, holding his head with both hands. Nidorino's rock crushing just now hurt him a lot. It just hit its head. I believe that it will be defeated by Nidorino in a few rounds. At Zhao Xiaofeng's signal, the battle ended hastily. Your Nidorino is stronger, Zhao Xiaofeng said with a smile, after taking back the Pokémon. No, your Snorkeling Weasel has also made great progress. Hahaha, let's go eat together. Okay. Weezhao, let's go, let's eat. Along the way, they were exchanging some experiences in cultivating Pokémon. After arriving at the cafeteria, Zhao Xiaofeng had already reserved a small private room on the second floor. After Zhang Xingyun bought food for himself and the Pokémon, he went into the private room to eat. Nidorino and Zhao Xiaofeng's Pokémon ate in the private room. I didn't expect that classmate Xingyun is already cultivating the 4th Pokémon, and I'm only the 3rd. Song Weezhao said in surprise as he watched Nidorino and the other 4 Pokémon eating. Hahaha, it's fate that made me meet them, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Hey, do you two know that the policy of today's Rookie Cup has changed? Zhao Xiaofeng said mysteriously, after taking a few bites of food. Why? Song Weezhao replied. There is a rumor that this year's Rookie Cup only allows novice level Pokémon to play, and the registered trainer year cannot be more than 1 year. Zhao Xiaofeng said slowly. There is also this matter, then this year will definitely be something to watch. It won't be a crushing game like in previous years. Song Weezhao said with some insight. Yeah, I think it's good too. Xingyun, if you want to participate, you have to hurry up and train a novice Pokémon. I see that you only have a novice Pokémon, Huoyed, which is not easy to deal with. Zhao Xiaofeng said to Zhang Xingyun. Huoyed is petite, with auxiliary abilities, and relatively weak combat ability. Hahaha, there is still time, no rush. Zhang Xingyun put the chicken steak into his mouth, wiped his mouth, and said. You are a person with special abilities. If you participate, you will surely win. Song Weezhao said with a hint of envy. Hahaha, I wish you good luck. After dinner, Zhang Xingyun continued to train, and refused the two to go play nearby. It is September now, and the Rookie Cup is in November. There are still 2 months to go, and Zhang Xingyun plans to focus on training Huoyed. He can't be proud and complacent. Although there are few people with special abilities, there will definitely be some in Changning. He may meet them in the Rookie Cup, so as long as he is strong enough, the chance of winning will be much higher. Did Huoyed hear that? I can only trouble you to play in the Rookie Cup. Zhang Xingyun said to Huoyed on his shoulder. Huoyed straightened his chest and responded. It also has some yearning for elves to fight. This is a completely different way of fighting from its wild. Generally, there is no danger. Therefore, it can make progress while fighting with other elves and experience the fun of fighting, and there is no advantage of life. Okay, I will train you. You have to hold on. We will improve together. It may be very hard. Huoyed patted her chest to indicate that she could accept it. After arranging several elves to train step by step, Zhang Xingyun was beside Electabuzz to instruct them. Electabuzz's training is not going very smoothly now. If the electric ball is powerful enough, Electabuzz can't control it. If the electric ball is weak, it can be controlled, but it has no power and loses its value in actual combat. Zhang Xingyun asked Electabuzz to practice with weak power. Electabuzz, you should practice the energy of the second level of the electric pulse machine now. Hey boo. Zhang Xingyun put away the electric pulse machine without energy and said to Electabuzz. After practicing for so long, Electabuzz can master the energy of the second level more stably. Electabuzz, you have just evolved not long ago, and you are not very good at using your energy. You can practice with these magnetic beads. Zhang Xingyun took out a bunch of beads and suggested that Electabuzz practice his energy use. Electric Beast, you have to work hard on this. Whether you can become the lightning master you want to be depends on this. Hey boo, when Electric Beast heard about the lightning master, he became alert and fiddled with the magnetic beads on the ground. Start with the simple ones, for example, put one first, and then work your way up. Hey boo, Zhang Xingyun gave a few more instructions, and walked to the side, where Huoyed was sitting on the ground. Are you tired, Huoyed? Zhang Xingyun took out a tissue to wipe Huoyed's sweat, wrapped his hand with his supernatural power, and relaxed it. Your physical fitness is not good. Start with physical training. Maybe Huoyed's living environment is a bit comfortable, so her physical fitness is not up to standard. You know, the physical fitness of Pokémon in the wild is much stronger than that of Pokémon from ordinary trainers. Pokémon's hunting or being hunted all day will develop strong physical fitness. But it is strange that Huoyed's physical fitness is not up to standard. Huoyed's physical fitness is acceptable according to the Huoyed group, but it is unacceptable for Zhang Xingyun. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82, Revenge of the Great King Yan. Pidgeot flew down and combed its feathers in front of Zhang Xingyun. Pidgeot is here too. Not bad, not bad. Here, try eating one of these energy blocks. Zhang Xingyun took out a medium level energy block from the storage space and gave it to Pidgeot. This is an energy block. It must have high energy. You have to keep working hard and don't waste it. Hua Yeti, I'm sorry, but I don't have an energy block for you. I'll give you one in a few days. Please wait a few days. Hua Yeti agreed with a smile. With this batch of resources, Zhang Xingyun doesn't have to worry about the energy block problem for the time being, which makes Zhang Xingyun very grateful. But Hua Yeti doesn't have any, so Zhang Xingyun wants to take out some money to buy some for Hua Yeti. Training. Yes, teacher. While Pidgeot was eating the energy block, Wang Yu came over, followed by his classmates. The class will start in 10 minutes. This class is a practical class, so I came here. Wang Yu said. I was just about to go over there. Zhang Xingyun replied. Time passed quickly while Zhang Xingyun was training elves, and now it was time for class. Zhang Xingyun knew that this class was going to start, so he wanted to go over there. After feeding the Pidgeot, unexpectedly, Teacher Wang Yu came here to teach. Your Pidgeot is so strong. Do you want to have a battle between flying elves? It's just a practical teaching. Okay. Faced with Teacher Wang Yu's invitation to a battle, Zhang Xingyun immediately agreed. Standing in the battlefield, the classmates found a good seat and sat down. Surrounding it, Fang Hongjian became the referee with great interest. Then I'll let this Big King Swallow come out. Go, Big King Swallow. Hiss. A Big King Swallow appeared in the battlefield and roared very energetically. At this time, Zhang Xingyun's facial expression was a little strange. After seeing this Big King Swallow appear, Zhang Xingyun knew that this Big King Swallow was the one he caught when he was doing the task. I don't know what happened, but it was bought by Teacher Wang Yu. There is a lot of fate with this Big King Swallow. Hiss. The Big King Swallow screamed even louder when it saw Zhang Xingyun and the Pidgeot. It still remembered that it was the hateful two-legged beast in front of it that ordered the purple elf to capture it without any martial ethics when it was not prepared. Hiss. The more it thought about it, the angrier it became. Although it didn't know why it evolved, it also had a trainer and lived a life with free food and shelter. But in its heart it still hated the two-legged beast, the purple elf who didn't follow martial ethics, and the yellow elf. The Big King Swallow looked at Zhang Xingyun with red eyes, and the frequency of its wings fluttering became higher. It was proud in its heart. Last time it was attacked for no reason, and then it was tamed by Wang Yu, but it still had some knots in its heart about that battle. Big King Yan, what's wrong with you? Calm down. Seeing that something was wrong with the Big King Swallow, Wang Yu said loudly. The big king swallow came back to its senses and was not so excited. Xingyun, why is the big king Yan so angry when he sees you? Do you know each other? Wang Yu asked. Well, I captured this king swallow during a mission, so it probably bears a grudge. Zhang Xingyun replied. No wonder, King Swallow, you can have revenge this time, show your might. Teacher Wang Yu said jokingly. Hiss, then let's go to Pidgeot. A flash of lightning x2 whoosh, two figures quickly appeared in the sky and clashed. It seemed that they were evenly matched. Swallow returns X to this time. Pidgeot was slightly better. In that case, King Swallow, brave bird. King Swallow put on an energy coat and rushed towards Pidgeot fiercely. What? This King Swallow actually mastered Brave Bird. I remember it didn't have it last time. Zhang Xingyun was a little shocked. Pidgeot, shadow clone. Although shocked, Pidgeot reacted quickly. Originally, when he saw King Swallow, Zhang Xingyun didn't use the system to scan, so he was surprised for a while. It can also be said that this great King Swallow has good qualifications and understanding. Puff, the great King Swallow dispersed many clones in one breath. But Pidgeot still has 8 clones. Shadow clone is a very good skill, and it is also a skill that Zhang Xingyun requires to be trained. So Pidgeot's shadow clone can now split more than 20 clones in one breath. Tornado. Hiss. The great King Swallow fluttered its wings, and a strong wind blew up, smashing all the clones of Pidgeot, and Pidgeot was exposed at this time. Brave Bird, the great King Swallow, wrapped in an energy coat again, and pounced on Pidgeot. Pidgeot, a flash of lightning. One chasing and one fleeing, the two elves chased each other in midair. The students below were also discussing. Class monitor, who do you think has a better chance of winning? Gao Yuan beside Chen Yu asked. Pidgeot. Why? Gao Yuan asked curiously. The energy fluctuation of the Pidgeot is a little stronger than that of the Great Swallow. Under the command of Teacher Wang, the Great Swallow was able to suppress the Pidgeot in the first time, but this will not last long. When Xingyun recovers, the Pidgeot will definitely win. Chen Yu analyzed, while looking at the two elves still fighting in the sky. The Great Swallow is chasing the Pidgeot now. Your analysis is wrong. Class leader, Yi Crossing, who was around, put forward a different point of view. Don't forget that Xingyun is a person with special abilities. Chen Yu said. Everyone nodded and stopped talking. In the sky, the Pidgeot and the Great Swallow were fighting in close combat. In this regard, the Pidgeot lost a bit, and lost a lot of bright feathers. With a clang, the two used steel wings to fight head on. Oh. The boys below all shouted. They were more used to fighting with fists and flesh, and they looked very excited. After fighting for a while, Wang Yu stopped. Under Wang Yu's command, the Great Swallow could not be defeated with the current Pidgeot. This shows a level of Wang Yu's trainer. Zhang Xingyun also gained a lot from this battle. Your Pidgeot needs to be developed in terms of speed, and in terms of close combat, it also needs to be strengthened, and Wang Yu pointed out some of Zhang Xingyun's shortcomings, and Zhang Xingyun listened humbly, and asked questions when he didn't understand something. The classmates in the class also gained something from this battle and Wang Yu's description. Even though this is an endless battle. In fact, if Zhang Xingyun used the spirit, it would not be difficult for Pidgeot to defeat King Swallow with some effort, but it was unnecessary. Moreover, the questions raised by Wang Yu were also questions about Pidgeot, which were pointed out, based on his understanding and experience of Pokémon battles. It can be used as an important reference. Chapter 83 Plan. Another fulfilling day has passed. In the afternoon, after fighting with Wang Yu, I gained a lot of knowledge. During the free time, there were also Pokémon battles. Several Pokémon such as Nidorino were on the field. They all gained a little, and found some small problems of their own. The new training results of the electric beast are not very successful in actual combat, and they have to continue training. Zhang Xingyun returned home at 10 o'clock in the evening. After school in the afternoon, he went to make some energy blocks. There is definitely no exclusive energy block for Huaidi, so he can only use the energy block of Yuan Ling temporarily. What made Zhang Xingyun happy was that when he was making it, he found that the quality of the energy blocks he made was much better, very close to the intermediate energy blocks. When he can successfully make the intermediate energy blocks, Zhang Xingyun will not have to be so tired, and he will have the resources to cultivate Pokémon. After entering the door, Zhang Xingyun took out the energy blocks and fed them to the 4 Pokémon. In addition, he prepared one for the giant claw mantis. After washing up, Zhang Xingyun went to the small study and looked up books. The system cannot be relied on for the time being because there is no energy value. During the day, he exchanged 3,000 points from the school for 3,000 merit points. After spending 2,000 merit points and verifying Zhang Xingyun's identity, he got the cultivation secrets of Huaidi. Fairy type. It was discovered a few years ago that it can restrain powerful dragon type elves. However, the status of dragon type elves has not changed. Attribute restraint does not necessarily lead to victory. Dragon type attacks will still be defeated if they exceed the tolerance of fairy elves, and they will not be immune. If they can be immune, then Rayquaza is not worthy of the title of divine beast. It's just that when elves of the same level fight, the fairy type has the advantage. After spending some effort, I finally had some ideas about Uaida's training. The secrets are dead, and the elves are alive. Cultivating elves cannot be done by rote, but must be appropriately cultivated according to the state of the elves. Zhang Xingyun touched his pocket and could only temporarily slow down the cultivation materials mentioned in the secret book. He would make a low-profile version to use first. Then there was the qualification of the flower leaf pedicle, which was another big problem. Now that the flower leaf pedicle was Zhang Xingyun's partner, Zhang Xingyun had to be responsible for it in the future. The qualification of the deep yellow, using the opportunity of evolution once, would be light green or dark green. More consideration was needed. Zhang Xingyun hoped that his elves would become kings in the future, so he was very strict in terms of qualification. What? Failed? Trash. A high school student who was only an ordinary student at best. You told me that he failed. In a base of the rocket team, Qiu Long shouted into the phone. My lord, that kid is not simple. He can actually teleport. My subordinate, Bloodbat, was careless for a while and let the kid escape. Later, with the help of teachers such as Wen Qingxiang from the 9th middle school, the kid returned to Changning City. A voice came from the phone, briefly describing the process. I will participate in the headquarters god-making plan. You are fully responsible for this matter. You can use some of the hidden forces in Changning City, but you must kill this person. Qiu Long said in a non-committal tone. Sir, I think this kid is not simple. Can you? VIP asked tentatively. No matter how simple he is just an orphan with no one to rely on. If others know that I can't even avenge an orphan, won't I be laughed at? Okay, I hope I can hear good news after my mission is over. After saying that, he hung up the phone. On the other side, the man codenamed VIP fell silent after seeing the phone hung up. He picked up the phone again and entered the number skillfully. Soon the call was connected. You'd better complete the mission successfully. I will give you the hidden forces in Changning City to help you. I will give you another 10 days. If you still can't complete it, you. VIP polished his nails and said lightly. The cold breath in his words was felt by the blood bats on the other side. Yes, sir, I will do my best. That's better. In a dirty sewer in Changning City, Bloodbat looked through the information sent by Venomous Snake. He studied it. He had to work out the best implementation plan to kill people and escape at the same time. He was careless last time. Now he just had to be fully prepared and kill an orphan. If he couldn't even kill this high school student, how could he survive in the rocket team? This kid will definitely call the police. With his orphan status, at most an elite level person will be responsible for this matter. According to the principle of leniency, I will apply for a quasi-king spirit. This is absolutely correct. Damn it, just do it when you find a chance. There is no need to stay in this damn place. Bloodbat muttered. Zhang Xingyun was practicing at this time. He didn't expect that someone would come to kill him again on this night. The next day, Zhang Xingyun went to school as usual. After finishing a class, he received a call from Lingfeng. Zhang Xingyun asked Wang Yu for leave, explained the reason, and rushed to Lingfeng's office in the Spirit Center. After entering the office, he sat on the reception sofa at Lingfeng's signal. This is what I got after investigating. I didn't expect that there were so many rats in the agency. Lingfeng looked at some information in front of him and handed a few of them to Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun started to read. It's impossible. So many people. Zhang Xingyun said in surprise. Maybe there are not so many people, just suspects. Suspects? Xingyun, I hope you can help with this matter. If this can be done, I will definitely not treat you unfairly after removing the rocket team members in Changning. Uncle Ling, you are too polite. As long as I can help, I will do my best. Zhang Xingyun knew that he had better participate. In addition to being a capable person, he can also bring him merits. Last time, because of the suitcase, if it can succeed this time, it will also be a great achievement. He got Ling Feng's help, and he also had to pay a corresponding reward. But this reward, if it goes well, the risk is zero. I have a plan to try now. Ling Feng said. Excuse me, Uncle Ling, what is the plan? Zhang Xingyun asked. Doesn't your school have an extracurricular class for outdoor training? We can do this and that. In this way, we can observe the performance of those people and further confirm it. Then is this plan a little abrupt? Those people are not stupid. According to the intelligence I got, Bloodbird is impatient and will probably take action in the next few days. In their eyes, you are just a helpless person. If the information in the agency is assisted, I think they will take a gamble. If this plan doesn't work, we still have plans 2 and 3. In short, we must catch these rats. Ling Feng's emphasis on Zhang Xingyun is a personal relationship. They don't want to think that a superstar will care about an ordinary trainer, so in their opinion, after calling the police, an ordinary person will at most be responsible for an elite level search officer. But the small matter of Zhang Xingyun being attacked and killed by the rocket team involved this big thing, so Ling Feng must act. Therefore, this information gap has a lot of room for operation. After a while, Zhang Xingyun left the Pokémon Center and returned to school. Chapter 84 Luohu's Secret Realm. After Zhang Xingyun left, Ling Feng picked up a phone and called Changning No. 9 Middle School. He talked for a while. Then, he called a few more calls, but he didn't know where they led to. As soon as Zhang Xingyun returned to school, Wang Yu came out to announce that 1/3 of the people would go to the Luohu's Secret Realm the day after tomorrow to train. Luohu's Secret Realm is one of the secret realms jointly owned by Changning City and Biguan City. It is also the main source of water elves in Changning City. Luohu's Secret Realm has a very large area, and the strength of the elves inside is stronger than that of Yangxing Forest. 10 people were obtained through lottery, and Zhang Xingyun was one of them. Then, Wang Yu stated that this mission was closer to reality, which was conducive to the future career development of students. It was also part of the school's teaching plan, and was agreed by the Education Bureau. Although everyone was a little surprised, they didn't think there was any problem. Time passed quickly, and it was the day when Zhang Xingyun was going to the Luohu's Secret Realm. Everyone was excited and brought all the equipment. There was also a watch on his hand. It contains everyone's personal information, everyone's tasks, and can record the process so that the performance can be judged. This time, the tasks are different for each person, and the teachers do not recommend forming a team, saying that it is to exercise the ability of individual survival. This time, there are 10 teachers leading the team. After all, the strength of the elves in the secret realm is not low. Although the place is specially selected, it must be well equipped. This time, Wen Qingxiang is still the leader. After gathering, the bus went to the Luohu's Secret Realm. On the bus, Zhang Xingyun closed his eyes and rested. Seeing this, the classmates did not bother him. Some of them chatted with interest, some of them closed their eyes and rested like Zhang Xingyun, and some played with their mobile phones. Soon, the bus arrived at the Luohu's Secret Realm. There are some troops stationed at the exit of the Secret Realm to prevent the elves from rioting. But because the border of the Secret Realm is too long, only a few important positions are stationed. After Wen Qingxiang got off the bus, he talked to the leading officer for a while, and then organized the students to let them go in by themselves. Luohu's Secret Realm, although it is called a secret realm, has already been half integrated into Blue Star. Before long, it will be completely integrated into Blue Star like the Cloud Star Forest. This is also the reason why the boundary line is too long. Secret realms are divided into soluble secret realms and non-soluble secret realms. For example, the Luohu's Secret Realm and the Cloud Star Secret Realm. Non-soluble secret realms such as the Dragon Valley Secret Realm and the Dragon Court Secret Realm. After Zhang Xingyun entered, he called out Nidorino. Several Pokémon stood in a formation, and Huoyedi sat on Zhang Xingyun's shoulder, acting as the last line of defense. In fact, Zhang Xingyun's current real combat power will not lose to Huoyedi, but as a trainer, try not to take risks in person. After crossing the level, Zhang Xingyun felt that the water energy nearby had increased. But now he was standing in a forest, and there was the sound of flowing water in the distance. Zhang Xingyun got up and walked over according to the instructions of the watch on his arm. And this scene of Zhang Xingyun was seen by the blood bat in the secret realm. Very good. Beep beep. The phone next to him rang. Hello. 3152. The phone rang with 4 numbers. 2250. Blood bat replied. Correct. There is a teacher 500 meters behind the target. The information shows that it is Wen Qingxiang, who has the Qua-seeking combat power. Received. Are you sure that the teaching plan of this number 9 middle school was submitted a month ago? According to the information of our brothers, yes. How many high-level combat forces in Changning are here? According to our brothers' records, only the garrison troops have the Qua-seeking combat power. At present, no official personnel have gone there. The phone rang, reporting the data, as if it was a treasure. At present, everything is normal. Please carry out the task as soon as possible. The phone was still ringing, but it paused in the middle. In a spacious computer room in the information department of the Elf Center in Changning, a middle-aged man with slightly bald hair and thick glasses, with dull eyes, muttered. Behind the middle-aged man, there were several people and a dream-inducing taper, one of whom was Ling Feng. At this time, a young man walked in and said a few words to the two. It's not enough. There should be more. Don't rush. Let them not rush to do it first. If we miss this time, I don't know when we can catch these rats. Yes. After the young man finished speaking, he went out. The computer screen showed the environment where the students and teachers of number 9 middle school were at this time. Among the few people, there were those wearing search officer uniforms, police uniforms, and all white clothes. Several people were concentrating on the screen. Zhang Xingyun used his supernatural power to the maximum at this time. Although Ling Feng said that he had already arranged it, Zhang Xingyun still had to be cautious. Heibu Electaboo used a Thunder Fist to defeat a Meryl by the lake. Zhang Xingyun threw out the Pokeball and collected the Meryl. The dark yellow qualifications, cute appearance, and the strength of a late novice should be able to sell for a lot of money. If Zhang Xingyun encountered tree fruits along the way, he would pick the tree fruits. If he encountered a similar Pokémon, he would defeat it and put it in the Pokeball. Zhang Xingyun used the remaining money and his credit card to buy another set of these essential items for outdoor travel. Good job, Electabuzz. Hey Bob. Zhang Xingyun's mission this time is to collect 10 small pearls and 3 large pearls. Pokémon like pearl shellfish can produce themselves. Small pearls mean novice strength, and large pearls are ordinary combat power. In this area, students can come here, which means that there are no elite level or above here. Pearls bred at the elite level are more precious, and have more uses. Therefore, if Zhang Xingyun's mission this time is the same strength as last time, it will not be very easy. But now Zhang Xingyun, although he can't beat the elite level, he is sure to fight against the ordinary level. Zhang Xingyun clicked on the watch, which showed the address of the shellfish tribe. Luohu Secret Realm is like a combination of forest and lake, but there are more lakes, and there are secret realms distributed one by one, but there are not only water-based Pokémon, but also other Pokémon. According to the map on the watch, at the end of lake number 3, there are Pokémon like shellfish. Zhang Xingyun took 4 Pokémon and rushed over. After he came in, most of the Pokémon he encountered were novice level, and he had also encountered ordinary level Pokémon, but they were relatively rare. If it was a tribe, there must be ordinary combat power. The water energy in this secret realm is very dense, so the water stone must also exist. Among the tribes, there should be a creature that evolved into a metamorphosis with the help of the water stone. Zhang Xingyun, who was running, stopped because he sensed a wave of water energy. Electric Beast, use the electric ball on the lake at 3 o'clock. Nidorino, you too. 2 electric balls hit the water surface where Zhang Xingyun mentioned. After the attack, Several weaker water Pokémon such as the horned goldfish floated up. Chapter 85 Bloodbat appears. After Zhang Xingyun scanned it with the system, he did not throw out the Pokéball to capture it. After the bombardment of 2 electric balls, the other Pokémon on the water surface also fled. Huoyedi, use the Vine Whip. There should be a water stone there. Pull it up. After a while, a misty water stone appeared in Zhang Xingyun's hand. Not bad. Although it is a primary water stone, it is also worth more than 100,000. It is another income. I'm lucky. If it were not for Zhang Xingyun's perception, he might have missed this water stone. After putting the water stone away, Zhang Xingyun was a little surprised. Why didn't the Bloodbat appear? It is also possible that it will not appear. This is not certain. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and continued to move towards the destination. Now he tried to seize resources as much as possible and cultivate Nidorino and others as quickly as possible. Taking advantage of this great opportunity, he had to save more resources. He passed by several fruit trees and defeated the guarding Pokémon. After collecting half of the fruit, he left. At this place, there are more ordinary level elves. Zhang Xingyun now has some plans to cultivate a water type elf, otherwise it will be inconvenient to adventure in this water type secret realm in the future. He is now a reserve. If he becomes a regular member of the government, he will have a quota for one of the 3 royal families and can also choose a good water type elf. The 3 royal families of the water system are all very good. They have strength and appearance. With a splash, a giant crab jumped out from the river. It is an ordinary early elf. It may be hiding in the river, waiting for prey to pass by, and then jumping out to hunt. But this giant crab is a little confused. It saw 3 ordinary level elves, and the energy fluctuations on one of them were much stronger than it. The one in the sky was also a little stronger than it, and only the yellow elf was about the same as it. It was too careless, and didn't sense much. It just came out when it felt there was movement, which was troublesome. Hey, a deep yellow quality scorpion crab. It looks pretty good. Nidorino, Electabuzz, 100,000 volts. Pipido, Airblade. After a few encounters, the scorpion crab was put into the Pokéball by Zhang Xingyun. Facing the 3 ordinary level Pokémons, Nidorino, the scorpion crab fell directly to the ground without any resistance. It only had time to launch a bubble beam before it was knocked out. Thanks to the gift of nature, this scorpion crab is really a good person. Oh no, a good Pokémon, giving away heads. I like it. Zhang Xingyun smiled and put the Pokémon of the scorpion crab away and continued to move forward. Not every ordinary level trainer dares to run directly by the river like Zhang Xingyun. But now Zhang Xingyun dares. Firstly, he has the ability to perceive. Secondly, he has people to protect him. And thirdly, the scorpion crab in his belt. As long as he doesn't encounter some old and cunning elite level water Pokémon, he will be fine. The places chosen by the school are generally within the ability of the students, which is why Zhang Xingyun dares to walk by the river. Zhang Xingyun's performance was also seen by Bloodbat, and also by Lingfeng, and others in the computer room far away in the Elf Center. Very good. Collect more. Collect more. Anyway, this thing is mine. Hahaha. Bloodbat laughed a little wildly. As long as he kills Zhang Xingyun, he will get his harvest and return to the rocket team, where there will be a batch of resources waiting for him. Double harvest, double happiness. I may even get a promotion and a raise. Triple harvest, triple happiness. When he thought of this, Bloodbat's mask fell off with laughter, and his performance was also synchronized with Lingfeng. Several people smiled and said nothing, watching everything carefully. At this time, another young man came in. After the young man came in, he said a few words in front of everyone. After getting Lingfeng's wait a little longer, he walked out again. What? You still don't want to close a net? It's almost done. Just close the net. A middle-aged man in a white police uniform next to Lingfeng said to Lingfeng. Lingfeng nodded and said, we have roughly locked down the people in several departments. Now we are confirming the final education bureau. Wait a little longer. Zhang Xingyun put the fruit into his backpack again, adding another harvest. Why haven't they come yet? Did they fail this time? Zhang Xingyun was a little confused. Why hasn't the Bloodbat come yet? Forget it. Let's get more resources first. gather the fruit, and make energy blocks when we go back. On the other side, the blood bat said to the phone, release a fake signal to lead Wen Qingxiang to another place. Received. The operation has been completed. Solve it quickly. A male voice came from the phone. Okay. The blood bat licked his lips and got up to act. Wen Qingxiang's headphones rang, and after muttering a few words, he also got up. It's time to act. Simulate the signal source and guide the blood bat. Now we can close the net. In the room, several people nodded and walked out. For a while, many departments in Changling City had search personnel visiting. After a while of movement, it returned to silence. Several people with high positions were put on the car, but they didn't know where to go. Zhang Xingyun had just defeated a parasite. It had good qualifications and could be sold at a good price, so he packed it up and took it away along with the fruit and the Pokémon. Another harvest. Comfortable. Zhang Xingyun laughed. A sound of breaking through the air came, and a Pokéball on Zhang Xingyun's belt opened automatically, and a red light rushed towards the attacking purple figure. Bang! The red and purple Pokémon both retreated, and the giant claw mantis stood in front of Zhang Xingyun, guarding vigilantly. I didn't expect you to get an elite level Pokémon. It really surprised me. Zhang Xingyun could not forget this voice. It was this voice that seriously injured him and almost died in Yangxing Forest. I was careless last time. You are dead this time. Let's see how you, an elite level Pokémon, can block it. Go. Two more Pokémon appeared on the ground. One was the previous roaring bomb, and the other was Arbok. Both were elite level Pokémon, rushing straight towards Zhang Xingyun. The space in front of Zhang Xingyun rippled, and Wen Qingxiang and a man in military uniform appeared. There was also a hoodie beside him. What? Damn, I fell into a trap. When the two men appeared, the blood bat immediately realized that it was a trap and turned around and ran away. He didn't understand why an orphan, who was a person with special abilities, couldn't get so much help. Want to run? Wish? The man next to Wen Qingxiang smiled coldly, and the next moment, he and the hoodie beside him disappeared. Teacher, thank you for your trouble. Zhang Xingyun thanked him. No, this matter is over, and you can resume your daily life. You can continue. Okay, teacher. After this incident, Changning City will be quiet for a while. Wen Qingxiang said thoughtfully. Zhang Xingyun also nodded, looking at the direction where the blood bat escaped, without saying a word. Chapter 86 Blood Bat Executed. Somewhere in the Luohu secret realm, after a big commotion, Blood Bat half knelt on the ground, with blood on the corners of his mouth. What's the identity of that kid? Isn't he an orphan? Why do you take him so seriously? Bloodbat asked in confusion, with several elves lying around him, a rogue crocodile and a cold turtle being the most eye-catching. Originally, Zhang Xingyun had an elite level giant mantis, which was considered a benefit for people with abilities. He was only elite level, so he could understand this. In order to be more sure, he applied for Turquoise-seeking elves. Now he was also defeated by the middle-aged man in front of him. I don't know about this. You'd better surrender, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. The man in military uniform said coldly, and then took Bloodbat down. The hoodie behind him had blue light in his eyes, and they disappeared together. This area became quiet, with big trees broken in half, trees mixed with soil, multiple large pits on the ground still emitting smoke, and many water elves floating on the lake not far away. These are all the aftermath of the Battle of the Qua-Seeking. If Zhang Xingyun appeared here, he would be very happy. Just based on the number of elves floating on the surface of the small lake, it would be a huge income. I know, Uncle Ling, thank you. You also have a contribution in this matter. I will apply for a reward for you afterwards. To be honest, it is thanks to you that we can clean up these rats in Changning. Uncle Ling, you are polite. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Xingyun was relieved. Now, there are no restrictions in the wild, and you can go out hunting and earn resources. There is another question, that is, whether the giant mantis should be returned. Now it can be regarded as the end of malicious revenge. Forget it, let's see if we can keep the giant mantis as a trump card. If we can, it will be the best, but if we can't, it doesn't matter. After running for a while, Zhang Xingyun stood on a big tree, holding a telescope in his hand, looking at lake number 3. He saw elves such as Shelder, but there were more elves like Shelder on this water. There are also several water-type Pokémon such as Frog and Frog. Zhang Xingyun believes that if he attacks the Shelder tribe, those water-type Pokémon will definitely intervene. After a careful observation, he hid his breath and moved closer to the lake to sense it with his supernatural power. There are 6 ordinary level Pokémon, 4 iron shells, 1 frog, and 1 claw lobster. But claw lobster is a lone ranger, and the other ordinary Pokémon have tribes. As for some novice level Pokémon, this is not a big problem in Zhang Xingyun's opinion. It is still quite troublesome. Zhang Xingyun does not have a water type Pokémon, which is not very convenient in this lake. Fortunately, there are Electabuzz and Nidorino with electric skills to restrain it, so as long as the plan is reasonable, it is still feasible. Zhang Xingyun is considering whether to poison it. But although this piece of water is at the end of lake number 3, it is difficult to poison it. Unless the quality of the poison is very high, Nidorino is not enough now, and some of the poisons Zhang Xingyun bought are not to that level. Zhang Xingyun thought of ways one by one. He could also go up and fight directly, but it would still be a bit troublesome in the water. It would be best to defeat them at a very low cost. Hey, that lobster has left the water. Zhang Xingyun followed. The lobster quickly captured a large tail on land with a clever method. After killing it, it began to eat it. The scene was a bit bloody. Zhang Xingyun decided to take down the lobster so that it would be 3 vs 5 and the chance of winning would be higher. Although it was unknown whether the lobster would intervene, it was better to be safe. Pippy Bird, Air Blade. Several air blades slashed out and attacked the lobster that was still eating. The lobster stopped eating when it heard the sound of breaking air, put its 2 claws together, jumped up, and slashed towards the air blade. Then it landed and ran immediately. And Zhang Xingyun suddenly appeared in front of the lobster. The lobster's eyes were fierce, and its huge claws were shining, attacking. Hey boo! Zapman rushed forward with his fists blazing. The two retreated after colliding, and another bolt of lightning broke through the air. On the field, several more lobsters appeared, which were the shadow clones of the lobster. They avoided the lightning. Zapman used the divergent electric shock to clear all the shadows, revealing the true form of the lobster. Another bolt of lightning broke through the air, and Zapman also threw an electric ball here. Bang, accompanied by the lobster's screams. Zapman's fists were blazing with electricity, and under the command of Zhang Xingyun, it rushed towards the lobster. In Zhang Xingyun's perception, after being affected by Nidorino's 100,000 volts and Zapman's electric ball, this lobster has not lost the fight. After Zapman's bangs, the lobster fell down and lost its ability to fight. A Pokeball was thrown out and successfully collected the lobster. Good coordination. Zhang Xingyun encouraged the performance of the 3 Pokémon. He comforted the flower leaf pedicel on his shoulder. He collected the materials that could be collected from the half-dead body of the big-tailed lobster and buried it. This big-tailed lobster was still weak, so it became food. Pokémon eat Pokémon, it's common. Now we have dealt with one, wait for another hour and see. If there is no change, then force attack. Nido hey booby flower Zhang Xingyun observed from the tree with a good view again. At this time, there were more than a dozen shelders basking in the sun by the river, and 3 ironclad shelders were also there. The fast swimmer was swimming. No, there won't be other changes in a short time. If the ironclad lobsters don't come back for a long time, they will inevitably get suspicious. Zhang Xingyun put several Pokémon into the Pokeball and told them to fight head-on. After Zhang Xingyun explained the plan, he hid his breath and slowly moved towards the shelter. When he was about to get close, Zhang Xingyun suddenly disappeared from the spot, appeared on the water, disappeared again, and appeared again on top of the shelters. Let Nidorino and the others come out, along with Flowery Petrel. Throw out a few smoke bombs. As soon as Nidorino and the others appear, they launch their most powerful moves. Bang, bang, bang. In the smoke, there are the screams of shelders and the roar of shelder. Lightning, wind blades, poisonous mud, and vine whips, crackling in the smoke. When the smoke dissipates, there are only 2 shelders and 5 shelders by the river. The others were knocked down in the sudden attack just now, and 2 of the weaker ordinary shelders were already in the Pokeballs. Those who survived were also covered with scars. This is also the terrifying thing about psychics, who would be on guard against a sudden attack. The frog swimming in the distance also found something wrong and rushed over. When the smoke dissipated, he jumped up, clenched his fists, and used the frozen fist to attack Zhang Xingyun. Hey boo, the electric beast appeared in front of Zhang Xingyun, and its fire fist collided with its freeze fist, causing some steam to rise. Chapter 87. The hunt ends. Zhang Xingyun's blitzkrieg stunned the Shelders. After Frog and Electabuzz had a move, they launched a counterattack. Several ice cones wrapped in cold air shot towards Zhang Xingyun quickly. Nidorino jumped out and blocked the incoming ice cones with a shield, then sent out a 100,000 volt blast. Pidgeot was also in midair, attacking with a blast. Now it was 3 against 3, and Zhang Xingyun was confident that he could defeat the 3 Pokémon. Pidgeot swooped down from the air, its wings glowing, and pounced on the Metagross that was still by the river. Seeing that the situation was not good, the 2 Metagross retreated into their shells. Bang! Pidgeot's attack arrived, but it didn't have much effect. Metagross's defense ability was still acceptable. Pidgeot took off again, and then dived again, this time not attacking Metagross, but Frog on the other side. After Frog had repelled Electabuzz, it wanted to jump into the lake, but was blocked by Zhang Xingyun's ability. Now Zhang Xingyun's ability has reached the level of ordinary, so he can also use telekinesis among superpowers. It is not a problem to block Froglet for 2 or 3 seconds. When Froglet was blocked by telekinesis, it held its hands in front of its chest and took a defensive posture to resist the attack of Pidgeot from the air. Because Pidgeot's attack angle is very particular, Froglet was knocked to the shore. At this time, while Froglet was still knocking away, Electabuzz also threw an electric ball through the air. It just hit Froglet, who was falling. Then Nidorino's Shadow Ball also arrived and attacked Froglet. Now, after experiencing the joint attack of Nidorino and 3 ordinary Pokémon, Froglet directly lost its ability to fight and lay on the ground. Hua called. It turned out that during the attack on the frogs in the river also attacked, but were all held back by the flower petal. But now the flower petal could not stop it, and called for help. Electric Beast, 100,000 volts, target the water surface. Zhang Xingyun attached his spirit to the electric beast and attacked the water surface with the maximum power of 100,000 volts. Water conducts electricity, and after a 100,000 volt, many water-type Pokémon emerged from the water. Several of them also took advantage of the chaos and escaped with injuries. Zhang Xingyun ignored him. After cleaning up those novice-level Pokémon, he focused his attention on the Tuscutum in front of him. The Shelder behind the Scutum had lost its ability to fight, but the Tuscutums were still holding on and could fight back from time to time. Zhang Xingyun had observed that these 2 Scutums did not know how to break their shells, so it was only a matter of time before they were defeated by Nidorino and the others. With the last electric ball of Electric Beast, the 2 Scutums lost their ability to fight. They also became quiet. Now Zhang Xingyun took out the Pokeball and collected all the Pokémons that had lost their fighting power. Zhang Xingyun let go of a few Pokémons that were relatively weak and of low aptitude. He wanted to keep some Pokémons with higher prices and didn't want to waste them on these Pokémons that were not very valuable. He defeated all the Pokémons on the shore and scared away the Pokémons in the river. Now Zhang Xingyun went into the water to see if there were any good things. Zhang Xingyun's ability was like a radar, and he was very sensitive to the induction of abilities. So, he went down and swam around, and gained a lot. He touched 4 water stones, one of which was intermediate. There were also some other scattered ability items, which were all absorbed by the system, and turned into energy values. With a splash, Zhang Xingyun swam out of the water, cleaned up, and put on his clothes. None of the 4 Pokémons were water Pokémons, and they didn't like to enter the water, so Zhang Xingyun did this kind of thing himself. After sweeping a tribe, Zhang Xingyun was in a good mood. This time his external threats were gone, his mission was completed, and the benefits were also great. It was really happy. Zhang Xingyun looked at his watch to see if there were any new tasks. Is this the most advanced task? After checking his watch, Zhang Xingyun realized that his current task was the most difficult of all the tasks this time. According to the description of this task, there are about 3 to 5 ordinary level elves, and they occupy advantageous positions. The information is somewhat different from the actual situation. It is difficult to complete. Think about it, Zhang Xingyun is a capable person who can teleport, and he stunned the iron shells, and then defeated other elves. Think about it carefully, assuming that he does not have the magical skill of teleportation, and does not have the assistance of spirit attachment. Based on the combat power of 3 ordinary elves, maybe he can beat them with a little more strength, but it is impossible for him to take them all down like Zhang Xingyun did. Since the task is completed, I have to get more resources, and I can't waste time. After a brief rest, Zhang Xingyun took 4 elves to look for resources. After eliminating the threat of the elite level, Zhang Xingyun was like a fish in water when hunting at the ordinary level. On the way, we encountered some precious herbs. After being defeated by Nidorino, Zhang Xingyun ignored the elves guarding the herbs, because he felt that there was no profit. The tribes we encountered, if there were no ordinary late stage or ordinary level elves, and no more than 6, were all robbed by Zhang Xingyun. Soon, the time was more than 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the information on the watch also showed the information of going back. Zhang Xingyun went back. Today's harvest is not low, at least Zhang Xingyun estimated that there are more than 1.5 million. Today, Zhang Xingyun, knowing that there are people to protect him, is like crazy, directly confronting the tribe, changing his previous cautious style. The harvest is naturally many times more than usual. But Zhang Xingyun knew that it was only this day, and if he hunted alone in the wild, he would definitely be safe. He couldn't be too arrogant. If he encountered an elite level elf, he would go bankrupt at best, or even die at worst. After waiting for a while at the entrance, he was the first to arrive. After waiting for a while, Yi Crossing also arrived. Yi Crossing walked over, patted Zhang Xingyun on the shoulder, and said cheerfully, "How is it? It's definitely not low, you are experienced." "I don't dare to say I'm experienced, it's just extra. The harvest is not bad, more than usual. With your condition, the harvest will not be low, not to mention your haunter is also very strong." Zhang Xingyun answered modestly, and then asked, "Not bad, not bad. Relying on the teacher's protection, I was a little aggressive, so I harvested a little more." Yi Crossing patted his backpack and said, "Ha ha ha, I think so too, so I harvested more than usual." Zhang Xingyun said bluntly, "Students are not stupid. If they don't be a little ruthless to themselves, and fight for it under the premise of protecting their lives, resources will not appear in their backpacks out of thin air." Zhang Xingyun thought, the school probably encourages this. Chapter 88, Becoming a Direct Descendant. The two chatted and exchanged their experiences in raising elves. While they were chatting, other classmates in the class arrived one after another. "Next time you have a chance, remember to let your Nidorino fight my haunter." "Sure, sure." Yi Crossing did not take the bus back, but took his uncle's car. His uncle was passing by here on business, and took Yi Crossing with him. The seats in the car were just full. Before leaving, Yi Crossing and Zhang Xingyun agreed to a battle, and Zhang Xingyun naturally agreed. Turned and walked onto the school bus. The classmates on the bus were discussing what they saw and heard today. As soon as Zhang Xingyun got on the bus, he also chatted with them. Amidst the laughter and joy, Zhang Xingyun got off the bus near the elf store. He rushed to Boss Lee with ease and sold today's harvest. At Boss Lee's place, he sold today's harvest and spent money to buy a set of items. Among them, Zhang Xingyun also bought a fairy type energy block from Boss Lee, an energy block formula called Moonlight. Both parties were very satisfied. When he walked out of the elf shop, Zhang Xingyun had more than 700,000 on his card. He kept some materials for his own use. After selling them, he bought more, including the formula of energy blocks, so his bank card now has more than 700,000. If he has time next, he can also try to make the energy blocks of flower leaves. Zhang Xingyun was very satisfied with today's harvest. After the transaction, he rushed to a newly opened Big Stomach King restaurant and opened a private room. He ordered a lot of food, which is the taste that Nidorino likes. It tastes good and is nutritious, but the energy may be a little less. But this is for celebration, and less energy is not a big deal. In the private room, Zhang Xingyun and the elves ate and drank. This is a routine. Every time I go out hunting, I come back to eat and drink and relax. Every time I go out hunting, it is also a kind of gambling. The stronger the strength, the higher the probability of winning. After eating, Zhang Xingyun's bank card was missing more than 100,000. It's all worth it. After going out, I took a taxi and returned home. After returning home, everything will be the same as usual. Wash when necessary, rest when necessary. In the house, high intensity training is definitely not allowed. Only basic training can be done. After taking a shower, Zhang Xingyun walked into the study and studied the formula of the newly acquired Moonlight Energy Block. The knowledge of elf cultivation must be learned at every moment. If you want to become a strong man, you have to do this. If Zhang Xingyun wants to enjoy life, he can live a comfortable life now. For example, working as a security guard for others, the salary and benefits are very good, and the risk is relatively low. It is probably a bit difficult to become rich, but it is not difficult to be a little blessed. With ordinary combat power, you can also live a good life. But Zhang Xingyun is not interested in this. He has his own pursuits and things to do. So, he must become stronger. In the living room, Electric Shock Beast and Huoed watched the TV series with great interest. Floret was brought into the game by Electabuzz. At first, she watched It's the Rise of the Thunder King, but after watching it, Floret went to watch other things. For example, The Secret of Lady Flowernot she is watching now is about love, which is different from the passionate drama that Electabuzz likes to watch. Electabuzz was not angry when the TV was taken away, and he also watched this self-love drama. Because in the drama, there is a young Electabuzz bravely pursuing love, and Electabuzz also watched it with relish. Nidorino and Pidgeot were chatting on the side, and occasionally turned their heads to watch TV. Most of them were talking about moves, and the feeling of fighting. Nidorino and Pidgeot were pursuing strength, and even in their rest time, they were still thinking about how to fight. Electabuzz and Floret are more Buddhist. After completing their training, they like to have fun. Zhang Xingyun would not care about this. These are all the elves' hobbies. He is a trainer and they are elves. He can't even allow a hobby. The night passed quickly, and the next day, Zhang Xingyun started his usual school life. The difference was that the number of students increased, which had some impact on his parking and eating. After returning to the classroom, Zhang Xingyun was praised for completing another difficult task. He received a batch of rewards. He got 1,000 points, more than 200,000 points, and a chance to go to the logistics department to select treasures. Then, Zhang Xingyun selected a few suitable things together with the last time. Just like the past, he listened to the class, studied, and trained the elves. After a few days, Zhang Xingyun received a call from Ling Feng after class. He asked him to come over for a while, and had something to tell him. Zhang Xingyun asked for leave again, and rushed to the elf center. Wang Yu also understood this, and approved the leave readily. Geniuses are always special, and Zhang Xingyun can also be considered a genius, so special treatment is reasonable. Zhang Xingyun sat on the reception sofa, in Ling Feng's office again. Unlike the last time, Ling Feng was smiling this time, and seemed to be in a very good mood. It turned out that this plan was a great success. Not only did they capture the undercover arranged by Team Rocket, but they also caught a lot of people. After listening to Ling Feng's story, Zhang Xingyun was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that so many things would happen because of his little ordinary level trainer. He captured so many undercover agents of Team Rocket. By the way, Uncle Ling, this matter has been settled. Should I return my giant mantis? Zhang Xingyun raised his question. The question of giant mantis. This is a small matter. I can decide. It doesn't matter if I leave it with you, as long as you return it after reaching the elite level. Ling Feng said indifferently. This was a small matter for him. Thank you, Uncle Ling. Zhang Xingyun thanked him. This was a small matter for Ling Feng, a master of the king, but a big matter for Zhang Xingyun. Hahaha, Xingyun, you are probably my lucky star. Last time, I was able to make up for my mistake because of your suitcase. Now, because of your incident, I have removed a lot of tumors. Ling Feng laughed loudly. He probably made a lot of money in this matter. That's all luck, and it's also due to your own fortune, Uncle Ling. Zhang Xingyun replied. In short, you also have a contribution in this matter. I have also reported it to the higher-ups. I believe that soon, you will be able to become a direct descendant in advance, without having to wait for the Rookie Cup to win. Thank you Uncle Ling for your help. Zhang Xingyun stood up and thanked him. This is also very important to him. The direct descendant status has many benefits, such as the 3 royal families. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, Making Moonlight. After returning to school, Zhang Xingyun was thinking about which 3 beasts to pick up. However, it was too early. He would be eligible to pick up the 3 beasts only after he confirmed his direct lineage. His identity information was still under review. I believe that with Ling Feng's help, it would not be difficult. The 3 beasts were not available at all times. The 3 beasts were excellent and loved by novices, so they were in short supply. I have to wait for notification. Now, I have to continue to make money. Only with money and resources can I train elves. If I can get the 3 beasts in the Rookie Cup, not only will Huoyidi be on the field, but there will be one more place to choose. Now the training of the electric beast has also improved. The electromagnetic field blade is 10 square meters in size, which can radiate electric shocks and attack from all angles. With the blessing of the field, it can be controlled. Attacking from multiple angles is a high probability of attacking, but it is not enough when encountering agile elves. If the attack direction of the electric current can be controlled, then the probability of hitting can be greatly increased when facing agile elves. Even if the attack cannot be achieved, it can be defended. Very good, Electabuzz. Your main task now is to train the electromagnetic field plus divergent electric shock, and then proceed to the next one if possible. Hey boo, originally, I found that I couldn't control the use of skills such as electric ball. The divergent electric shock skill can be used, so I trained this skill vigorously. Then I stopped training Electabuzz and asked Nidorino and a few others to cooperate in the training. Flowery Dye also joined in. The power of the cooperation of Pokémon is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The power of the cooperation will be at least greater than or equal to 2. With this cooperation and Zhang Xingyun's instant movement, he can defeat enemies that are several times more than himself. Hey, Xingyun is training. Gao Yuan and He Jingwen walked over from a distance. Gao Yuan was holding an umbrella. Yeah, are you two here to train too? Zhang Xingyun said as he looked at the 2 people who were coming. Classmate He Jingwen's Pokémon was promoted to the normal level not long ago, and her strength has greatly improved. And Gao Yuan's Beedrill, after polishing, was promoted to the normal level the day before yesterday. Now class 20 has 2 more normal level trainers, including Yi Crossing. Class 20 now has a total of 13 normal level trainers. Now the students in the class are also breaking through the normal level one after another. I believe that by the time of the college entrance examination, there will be more normal level trainers in the class. No wonder you are so good. You are the hardest working person in the class, unlike the 2 of us. Gao Yuan looked at the sweaty Zhang Xingyun and said sincerely. After finishing the theoretical class and organizing the knowledge, Zhang Xingyun continued to learn other knowledge a while ago. During this period, in addition to attending classes, he trained Pokémon in the school under the scorching sun. No, I just like training. You'd better be a human being and don't show off your love for me, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Gao Yuan and He Jingwen were a pair from the beginning, and Zhang Xingyun only found out that they were a couple afterwards. In today's high school, there is no such thing as premature love. Moreover, the family backgrounds of the 2 can be regarded as a good match, and it is estimated that their parents will not object. How could that be? Let's do this first. We are going to train. We have to learn from you. Otherwise, it will be difficult to deal with you if we are left too far behind. After chatting for a few more words, the 2 went to another place to train. It was only a little after 4 in the afternoon, and they came down to train. Zhang Xingyun came down when he had no classes at 3 o'clock. This is the real situation of most high school students. Going to school, dating, and training elves together. This is a life of students. A very small number of students like Zhang Xingyun have been training elves hard. After letting a few elves continue to train, Zhang Xingyun walked under a big tree, picked up the backpack under the tree, and took out the moonlight energy block formula from it, and looked at it. After school, Zhang Xingyun will go to make this energy block. Let Uaed eat the special fairy type energy block as soon as possible. Now there are some final data of this energy block that have not been calculated. Use the system to calculate. This primary energy block corresponds to the novice period and the ordinary period. But what Zhang Xingyun said was that adding some suitable fruit would make the energy block better quality and contain more energy. If there was no system assistance, Zhang Xingyun would have to try again and again. Now with the assistance of the system, he only needs to calculate it once, and if the success rate is more than 80%, he can start making it. After a while, the school bell rang, and Zhang Xingyun put the 3 Nidorinos into the Pokeball. Huoyedi sat on his shoulder, went out of the school gate, found his electric car, and went to the cultivation store. After arriving, he skillfully opened a room, bought some things, and walked into the production room with the staff. After the staff put the things away, Zhang Xingyun cleaned the machine, and took out the things he needed one by one. Arrange and put them away. Turn on the machine. It looks almost done, and put them in one by one. Zhang Xingyun's ability is equivalent to a perspective machine. Zhang Xingyun can know the state of the fruit in the machine. He can react in time and operate the machine. This time, the processed moonlight energy block was made smoothly. The color is also very good, with a special fragrance. Hua Yeti looked at the moonlight energy cube that was still steaming, and was a little greedy. Here's a piece for you. Zhang Xingyun took a piece, and gave it to Hua Yeti to eat first. Hua Yeti ate the energy cube handed over, and made a very satisfied cry. This is more suitable for it. Whether it is the energy material or the taste, Hua Yeti likes it. Ha ha ha, as long as you like it. Looking at Hua Yeti's satisfied look, Zhang Xingyun said happily. Then, he asked Hua Yeti to walk away, and continued to make it. This time, he not only wanted to make Hua Yeti's energy cube, but also Nidorinos and others. He can continue to eat after eating the intermediate energy cube. Now he is getting more and more proficient. As long as he studies it carefully, he will be able to try to make intermediate energy cubes soon. Now, the primary energy cubes he made are much stronger than ordinary primary energy cubes. Soon, another batch of energy cubes was produced. After putting them away, he washed the hot machine again. He wanted to make non-fairy energy cubes, so he had to clean them to prevent residual substances from interfering with the new energy cubes. Then, one by one, Zhang Xingyun took out the machine. Soon, batches of energy cubes were produced with steam. Looking at the energy cubes that were still steaming, Zhang Xingyun released Nidorino one by one, and fed a few of the energy cubes that had just been made. If humans couldn't digest it after eating it, Zhang Xingyun would have wanted to eat one. It was really a bit fragrant, but it was a pity that humans couldn't digest it, and Zhang Xingyun didn't want to waste it too much. Chapter 90 Strange. Zhang Xingyun got up early the next morning. Today was the weekend, and he wanted to go hunting in the wild to accumulate more resources. After receiving a few tasks at the Pokémon Center, he set off. Having learned from the previous lessons, Zhang Xingyun, with the help of Lingfeng, got a second identity. After coming out, Zhang Xingyun put a mask on his face and took a taxi out of Changling City. There were also many people who wore masks when they went out hunting, so Zhang Xingyun's outfit was not very prominent. Changning City is now much quieter after the sweep a few days ago. Zhang Xingyun believes that the 1 or 2 surviving Rocket Team undercovers will not appear again in a short time. Moreover, Zhang Xingyun is protected by a late-stage elite giant mantis, which is also guaranteed in terms of safety. The beak of the Pidgeot was bleeding, and a toucan was lying at its feet. After Zhang Xingyun entered the forest, this ordinary toucan appeared from nowhere. With the help of Nidorino and other Pokémon, the toucan was captured. Pidgeot may have taken Zhang Xingyun into consideration, so it did not kill the toucan, but just let out a breath of anger. Zhang Xingyun also smiled at this. He said that he could kill the toucan to vent Pidgeot's anger, but Pidgeot did not. Today's hunting got off to a good start. Zhang Xingyun went deeper. Now he is not as cautious as he was at the beginning when there was only Nidalang. Now as long as he does not go too deep and there is no elite combat power, then Zhang Xingyun will take action. At this time, Zhang Xingyun observed a colony of giant bees through a telescope. Bug-type Pokémon have weak combat capabilities, but extremely strong reproductive capabilities. In the forest, this type of bug-type Pokémon is also the most numerous. 5 giant bees, and 1 is injured. Now there is a way. Observe the appearance of the giant bee colony through the telescope. At most, give them 1 or 2 ordinary level combat forces, and Zhang Xingyun can also eat this. We can't fight at the beehive, otherwise the beehive will be destroyed. We are fighting for this beehive. The beehive built by the ordinary giant bee is very valuable. It can also be used for food, and the nutrition is very good. There was a big noise in front, and Zhang Xingyun turned his head to see that it was 2 circle bears. Roar the sound came before the bears arrived. The 2 circle bears went straight to the group of giant bee. They probably wanted to take the honey. But honey is the most important thing for elves like giant bee, so the 2 started fighting. The circle bears have thick skin and flesh, and the 2 bears fought against 6 giant bee with their strength. The missile needles collided with the true energy bombs, accompanied by several destructive death lights, and tree and grass debris flew everywhere, making a lot of noise. The giant bee and the circle bears should not have said hello to each other, and they couldn't tell them apart for a while. The other few came out of the beehive, and they were not found in the telescope. Zhang Xingyun now has 2 choices. One is to wait for them to decide who is better. No matter who wins or loses, Zhang Xingyun can deal with them with thunder. The second is that Zhang Xingyun takes advantage of the battle and teleports to the hive. If there are larvae, if they can be collected, they will be collected. By the way, these hives are collected. Whether it is the giant bee or the circle bear, they can't do anything to Zhang Xingyun. Now Zhang Xingyun has made some breakthroughs in his supernatural powers. He can sense more places, and the same is true for teleportation. One teleportation can teleport 10 meters. If you teleport several times, they can only stare blankly. There are rustling sounds. Zhang Xingyun sensed that other elves are coming near the battle. Elves such as Arbok and Ariadus gathered nearby. Zhang Xingyun sensed 7 elves, and there are probably many watching the battle nearby. In a hidden corner, Zhang Xingyun also sensed elves such as Night Owl and Crossbit. Without hesitation, Zhang Xingyun put several elves into the elf ball. Faced with this situation, he decisively chose the second one. After teleporting, they all appeared behind the big tree. After several teleports, they successfully arrived at the beehive. Throwing out the elf ball, Nidorino and Electabuzz were released, and 1 electric shock. Many elves lost their combat ability. Zhang Xingyun collected a few of them by the way, and then put the beehive into the space backpack. This beehive is also relatively large, and Zhang Xingyun's backpack is 30 cubic meters, so it can still fit. The things here are also known over there, so Zhang Xingyun did not continue, and teleported away from this place directly. Hiss roar. Zhang Xingyun ignored the voice coming from behind, and after teleporting for a while, Zhang Xingyun stopped. Teleportation is worthy of being a magical skill, it's really useful. But Zhang Xingyun was also alert to the actions of the elves here. In the future, every battle must be resolved quickly, otherwise, there may be a yellow bad behind. Zhang Xingyun didn't know what happened to the swarm in the giant bee. He took out the map and looked at it, then headed in another direction. A morning passed quickly, and Zhang Xingyun also completed the task he received. He is now resting in a tree hole. Today's harvest is good. It is estimated that the income in the morning is more than 600,000. Continue in the afternoon, and it is estimated that the income in a day should be more than 1 million. The ordinary trainers are also hunting, and they only make 200,000 or 300,000 a day. But they can't teleport. If there are fewer people, they dare not fight the tribe. If there are more people, they can fight, but the harvest they get is not much. There are also some ordinary trainers who specialize in dealing with tribes with only novice combat power. This way, the harvest is less, but it is safer. Puff, spray the potion on Pidgeot and feed it a few energy cubes. This was in the morning. In a battle, it was injured by an ordinary late-stage Scyther. After Nidorino joined forces, the Scyther was injured, but the Scyther also ran away. As expected of a natural warrior, he has a wealth of combat experience. Zhang Xingyun originally wanted to capture some of these Pokémon, such as Scyther, which are very valuable and popular with trainers. They have high damage and are also very handsome, making them one of the Pokémon that trainers can use to show off. Pippido, look for them again in the afternoon, maybe you can find the Scyther that injured you. Pippido responded, as it still remembered that Scyther's sharp double blades had injured it. After resting, they set out again and continued hunting. Why do I feel that the space energy is a little unstable? Moreover, why are there several other strong energies? Zhang Xingyun stopped, felt the surroundings, and said with some confusion. Zhang Xingyun could feel the vibration of the energy of space. After all, teleportation is a space skill, and Zhang Xingyun could sense the abnormality of the space energy. Chapter 91 The Secret Realm arrives. Zhang Xingyun felt something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out why. Suddenly, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes wide. This feeling was very similar to the day when the secret realm descended. Trouble. Rumble. The ground shook, and the earth shook. In the sky of Yangtze Forest, huge black cracks appeared, among which there were large piles of rocks, big trees, lakes, etc. all fell through the cracks and merged into Yangtze Forest. Many elves were running around in panic, and the big trees were swaying, and many collapsed. Zhang Xingyun moved in an instant to avoid a big tree that hit him. The elves' roars were uneasy and continuous. Many flying elves also flew in the sky. They quacked and screamed. After a while, the vibration stopped, but the energy here is more mixed. Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw a rocky area in the distance. This time the secret realm descended, bringing a rocky area to Yangtze Forest, making the terrain of this Yangtze Forest more complex and diverse. After the secret realm descended, it should have been integrated into the blue star, which means that the area where the secret realm descended has been increased in the current Yangtze Forest. The elves who had just descended were all a little uneasy and irritable. The secret realm has descended. Quickly notify the military and investigators. The Meteorological Bureau of Changning City also detected it, and the staff also took action. The army stationed in Changning took action at the first time and set up a defense line at the border between Yangtze Forest and Changning City. Then, the investigators also arrived. Ling Feng rode a fire-breathing dragon and brought many investigators to the scene and waited at the entrance with the military personnel. Everyone was looking at the place where the secret realm descended with a solemn expression. Fortunately, it descended in Yangtze Forest, not Changning City, otherwise the damage would be extraordinary. As for the people in the forest, they could only wait until the secret realm was over before going in to take a look. At this time, Zhang Xingyun was running away quickly. Behind him, there were several big steel snakes with red eyes chasing him. Zhang Xingyun was also very depressed. He randomly chose a direction and encountered this big steel snake. Logically speaking, there were no big steel snakes in this area originally. These big steel snakes came here after the secret realm descended. Several dragon breaths attacked Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun disappeared, and the next moment he appeared in the air, and then exhaled the Pidgeot, and glided with the help of the Pidgeot. With the help of the dense trees, he avoided the pursuit of the big steel snakes. The big steel snakes couldn't see Zhang Xingyun, and roared in a row, and turned around and left. I don't know how many trees they destroyed, and how many weak elves they crushed along the way. Zhang Xingyun appeared in a pile of rocks. He just ran and ran here. I'm really unlucky. I was chased last time I came out. This time I came out, the secret realm descended. This time, my luck is amazing. Zhang Xingyun murmured. Both times he came out, his life was in danger, but this time was different from the last time. It's not reasonable that it will descend into the secret realm again, and it descends into Yangtze Forest, which was originally a secret realm. It's really outrageous. Zhang Xingyun scratched his head, feeling helpless. Generally, after a secret realm descends, no secret realm will descend in the same place again. This time, the secret realm descended, and there was a pile of rocks, so the elves that survived were mostly rock-type elves. Now, in this environment, rocks and trees are piled up on each other, and it depends on what type of elves live in the future. If there are many rock-type elves, then this place will become a geographical environment like Zhang Xingyun. If there are many grass type elves, then the pile of rocks here will slowly turn into dense trees. The elf tribe can change the geographical environment to a certain extent. I heard that the sandstorm monarch Bangulus can turn the environment into a desert. I just don't know if there is Bangulus in this place. After this secret realm descended, the area of Yangxing Forest was expanded. Judging from the movement just now, the area is definitely not small. In this case, this secret realm has been integrated into the blue star, expanding its area, and the original map is no longer useful. Moreover, no one has surveyed the place after landing, so we don't know how strong the descending elves are. Bang! Zhang Xingyun dodged the attack of Sandslash again. Sandslash failed to hit the target, and was dodged by Zhang Xingyun, and he was a little angry. There was some movement on the ground, and 7 or 8 Sandslash jumped out, as well as more than a dozen Sandshrews. Fuck, did I poke the Sandshrews nest? So many elves are attacking me. Faced with so many Sandshrews and Sandslashes, Zhang Xingyun could only run away. There might be other Sandshrews and Sandshrews underground. It's better to run away, you can't afford to offend them. As usual, Zhang Xingyun used the space to move, released Pidgeot, and glided with the help of Pidgeot's 2 claws. There was a sound of metal friction in his ears, and several armored birds pounced on Zhang Xingyun who was gliding. Zhang Xingyun quickly asked Pidgeot to fly to the ground, and then put Pidgeot into the Pokeball, and disappeared in an instant. The armored birds in the sky could not find Zhang Xingyun, so they flapped their wings, and flew in another direction. They flew towards a place, and there was another big noise. It's so unlucky. Have I been possessed by the chief recently? I used to have good luck hunting and harvested a lot. Zhang Xingyun appeared under a huge rock. Looking at the armored birds flying to other places, he wiped the sweat from his forehead. It was obvious that those armored birds were not easy to mess with at first glance. At least they were close to the elite level in the late stage of ordinary. They flew a little slower, but their defense ability was definitely not low, and their attack ability was also strong. Zhang Xingyun didn't want to waste energy on the armored birds. It would not make up for the loss. Moreover, in this unfamiliar environment, safety should be the priority, not the profit. Several screams came from a distance. It was a man's voice, probably calling for help. But Zhang Xingyun stayed here quietly and ignored it. Now, his highest combat power is the giant mantis. But the giant mantis only protects him, and will not listen to his command. Mantis also has its pride. As a late elite Pokémon, it is understandable that it does not listen to Zhang Xingyun, who is only an ordinary level trainer. Zhang Xingyun remembered that in the anime of his previous life, Zyozzy had a Charizard that also did not listen to Zyozzy. This should be because the Pokémon's strength is higher than the trainer's ability, so there will be problems such as not listening to instructions. And Zhang Xingyun can use his ability to communicate with Mantis, and then use delicious food to build a good impression with Mantis. But this is only because Mantis will protect him wholeheartedly, and will not listen to his command. But if the feelings between the two are deep enough and the bond is strong enough, maybe it will work. For example, after Charizard was injured in a battle, he received Zyozzy's wholehearted treatment. After feeling Zyozzy's sincere emotions, he was willing to listen to Zyozzy. Chapter 92 Adventure. Zhang Xingyun exhaled and planned to take a rest here. Now, we can wait for the elves to stabilize after the secret realm descends, and then slowly explore. The secret realm has descended, but the direction of the entrance has not changed. As long as we walk in the direction, we can get out. The key is whether there will be danger along the way. But Zhang Xingyun believes that the secret realm has descended, and this place is close to Changning City. The army of Changning City does not allow this threat to be here. I believe that there should be action soon. According to previous practices, those above the elite level will be cleared or driven to the depths. As for the elite level elves, Zhang Xingyun thinks that it is still no problem to deal with them. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun plans to explore this newly merged secret realm. The advent of the secret realm and the process of fusion are equivalent to a reorganization, so the probability of discovering treasures will be much greater. Zhang Xingyun was followed by the electric beast, and Huoyidi sat on his shoulder. Considering the elves here, Nidorino and Pidgeot were not allowed to come out, but they were told to be in the elf bowl and ready to come out at any time. The rocks piled up on the dense trees gave this green ocean other colors. He walked to a high point, took out a telescope, and looked around. There were several mantle rocks and stone balls in the distance, and there were also several giant rock monsters next to them. That area should be their territory. Those giant rock monsters were not easy to mess with at first glance, at least at the elite level. Hey, why is the earth rock soul in the mouth of that armored rhinoceros? Is there this treasure here? Through the telescope, Zhang Xingyun saw 3 armored rhinoceros eating the treasure earth rock soul. Before, Zhang Xingyun received a gift from his brother, which contained earth rock soul, which can provide energy, and changed some qualifications for ground and rock elves. Although the quality of what he saw now is not better than that of his brother, it is also a valuable treasure. Wow, it's a bit wasteful to eat it like this. It can play a greater role with some other treasures. Seeing the armored rhinoceros eating those pieces of earth rock soul, Zhang Xingyun said with some regret. Earth rock soul can also be used to make energy blocks. It is definitely of great benefit to the 2 types of elves, rock and ground. Observe carefully to see if there are other elves beside the 3 armored rhinos. If there are only the 3 novice armored rhinos, Zhang Xingyun will take action immediately. After the armored rhinos finished eating, they lay on the ground and fell asleep, with a faint yellow light coming out of their bodies. Good guy, you sleep after eating. I want this kind of life too. Zhang Xingyun changed his position. The 3 armored rhinos and a big rock next to them blocked his sight and he could not observe them. For safety reasons, Zhang Xingyun moved his position and continued to observe. This time he observed that there were 2 armored tyrannosaurus behind the rock. Zhang Xingyun was a little surprised, so that the armored rhinos and armored tyrannosaurus would not become irritable because of the arrival of the secret realm. From the telescope, Zhang Xingyun saw a pile of earth rock soul next to the armored tyrannosaurus. Outside, the earth rock soul that was regarded as a treasure was eaten as food by the iron rhinoceros and iron tyrannosaurus. Zhang Xingyun concealed his aura and slowly moved over. Using the system, it turned out that the male iron tyrannosaurus was at the late ordinary level, the other one was a female, at the middle ordinary level, and the 3 iron rhinoceros were at the late novice level. Name, Iron Tyrannosaurus, male, attributes, ground, rock qualification, dark green characteristics, lightning rod strength, late ordinary skills, horn collision, trampling, crazy attack, arm punch, earthquake, super horn attack. This is a good thing. We have to make a quick decision to seize the treasure while ensuring our personal safety. The electric attack of the electric shock beast is not very effective, but some fighting skills can be used. I don't have to fight against the 2 ordinary level iron tyrannosaurus. There are other ways. Zhang Xingyun saw the iron rhinoceros sleeping at a distance from the iron tyrannosaurus, and his eyes lit up. This can be done by tricks, but it depends on the attitude of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. But the problem is not very big. If the giant mantis is willing to listen to him, he can just go up and punch the Tyrannosaurus Rex with 2 bangs, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex will be knocked out. It's a pity that the giant mantis only protects him and won't listen to him. Zhang Xingyun talked about the general plan with Nidorino and the Pokeball, and then disappeared from the spot. The next moment, he appeared not far from the Iron Rhino, and disappeared again. In the blink of an eye, he appeared next to the Iron Rhino. At this time, the 2 Tyrannosaurus Rex seemed to feel something strange and moved. Nidorino, use water wave on the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Nido. After the spirit, Nidorino condensed the water wave and threw it at the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roar the Iron Rhino also reacted, and a sharp stone blade faced the water wave. The moves dissipated, and Zhang Xingyun held the 3 Iron Rhino hostage. During this process, the 2 armored rhinos had lost their ability to fight and lay on the ground motionless. The other armored rhinoceros had the tile-splitting beast hanging over its head. Roar the 2 armored Tyrannosaurus only roared a few times, but did not attack further. Zhang Xingyun used telepathy to say to the 2 armored Tyrannosaurus, your 3 children are in my hands. As long as I give an order, your 3 children will definitely lose their lives. The male armored Tyrannosaurus asked Zhang Xingyun what he wanted to do through telepathy. Nothing, I just want the clods of earth around you two, which are just your food. I want to exchange them for your children. You two should agree. Zhang Xingyun looked at the two armored Tyrannosaurus and said lightly, "Of course, I can use these tree fruits to exchange for your clods of earth." The two armored Tyrannosaurus looked at each other and nodded. Then, Zhang Xingyun used his supernatural power to put the tree fruits aside. As for the earth rock soul next to the armored Tyrannosaurus, Zhang Xingyun asked the electric beast to move it over. After the electric beasts were moved, Zhang Xingyun put all these things into the space backpack, and then used his supernatural power to heal the armored rhinoceros, and then used teleportation to disappear. After several teleportations, Zhang Xingyun appeared on the back of a huge rock, where there were several trees. Zhang Xingyun took a general look, and found no danger, so he stopped there. He checked the earth rock soul in the space backpack. It was about 50 kilograms, which could be used to feed Nidorino, and change some of its qualifications. It can also be used to sell, and it is worth a lot of money. This was probably found by the two armored Tyrannosaurus, seeing that they didn't look distressed. But now it belongs to Zhang Xingyun. Chapter 93, A Cry for Help. When Zhang Xingyun checked the earth rock soul in his backpack, several trees around him started to move. Zhang Xingyun disappeared from the spot and appeared 10 meters away the next moment. There was a pit where he was standing. Nonsense, it turned out to be several nonsense trees. Zhang Xingyun had taken a rough look at it, but he didn't expect that these nonsense trees were hidden next to the big tree, and the naked eye couldn't find them for a while. Zhang Xingyun asked Nidorino and the others to rush forward. Everywhere they went, they were chased by elves, and Zhang Xingyun was a little angry. Now there were 3 ordinary nonsense trees in front of him, and Zhang Xingyun felt that he could still beat them. Pippi, Air Blade Nidorino, Water Wave Electric Beast, prepare to split the tiles Hydrangea, Flying Leaf Blade. Pippi's attack arrived first, hitting the nonsense tree, and then the attacks of Electric Beast and Hydrangea also arrived. Then, Electabuzz rushed into the smoke caused by the move, his hands glowing, and he used the tile breaker to chop down at the nonsense tree. Bang! Electabuzz retreated without gaining any advantage. Nonsense of the 3 nonsense trees, 2 had some minor injuries, while the other one was not injured. As expected of a rock type Pokémon, its defensive ability is really good. The attacks of the 3 Nidorinos only caused some minor injuries to the nonsense trees. Nonsense, the 3 nonsense trees used sharp stones to attack together with great momentum. Zhang Xingyun could only put Nidorino and the others back into the Pokéball, and then teleported and disappeared from the spot. It was good to let out some air. The strength of the 3 nonsense trees was not weak. If they really fought, even if they could beat them, Nidorino and the others would inevitably be injured. So Zhang Xingyun still retreated. There are many concerns for those with low strength. If you fight with the 3 nonsense trees, you must be on guard against whether there is a yellow bird. If the yellow bird is a normal level, it's okay, but if it's an elite, it's a bit troublesome. After teleporting, he appeared under a big tree, which was a bit dark and damp. Squeak! Several Zubats saw Zhang Xingyun, flapped their wings, their eyes turned red, and rushed over. What bad luck. Nidorino, Electabuzz, 100,000 volts. Nidohabu. As soon as the 2 Pokéballs were opened, Nidorino and Electabuzz appeared in front of Zhang Xingyun. Electric arcs flashed on their bodies, and 2 lightning bolts struck the flying Zubats, illuminating this dark environment. Snap! Several Zubats fell to the ground after being hit by 100,000 volts. Before Zhang Xingyun could take any action, a fluttering sound came, and Zhang Xingyun sensed that several expats were flying over, and their strength was not weak. He could only take Nidorino and Electabuzz back, and continue to run. The advent of the secret realm made this area very chaotic. One is rock, one is forest, and one is lake with elves living there. Fortunately, Zhang Xingyun knows the magical skill of teleportation, so he runs away when he sees the situation is not good. For ordinary people, if the elves are strong, they may survive. If they are weak, the screams Zhang Xingyun heard earlier will be the same. But teleportation is also very energy consuming. Now, Zhang Xingyun is resting in the cave opened by Nidorino. He sits cross-legged on the ground and practices to make up for his energy. Gurgle gurgle, the sound of his stomach tells Zhang Xingyun that his body needs food, so he can only stop practicing and take out something to eat. He has to teleport from time to time, and now he feels very tired. His head still hurts. Teleportation is cool and cool to use, but there is a limit to the number of times it can be used. According to Zhang Xingyun's current strength, he has not reached that level yet. In the cave he opened, Zhang Xingyun took out the energy cube and fed it to the 4 elves. He leaned against the mud wall, opened a can of meat, and took out some other food. He ate slowly. The cave was still a bit crowded, and Nidorino had to squeeze in to eat. There was no need to open up a cave too big. The bigger the cave, the more things you had to think about. As long as it didn't collapse, it was just a temporary resting place. After eating, he told a few elves to take turns to guard the tree hole, and Zhang Xingyun entered the state of cultivation. Save me, save me. When Zhang Xingyun was deeply in cultivation, his whole body relaxed, and his mental power was dispersed at will. But in the dark, Zhang Xingyun felt a cry for help. The voice was extremely weak and a little childish, but it was still calling for help tenaciously. Is it a human? Or an elf? Where did this voice come from? After practicing for a while, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes. He had just heard a cry for help. How could there be a cry for help in this place? Zhang Xingyun was also very confused, but his feeling was not wrong. Zhang Xingyun could only sit cross-legged on the ground again, relax his whole body and mind, let his mental power disperse, and see what was going on. Help me, I can feel it, but where is it? Zhang Xingyun sensed the voice, but he didn't know where it came from. Help me. The voice seemed to be weaker, but it was still asking for help. This is. Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and felt that the voice for help was below him. How is it possible? I dug more than 2 meters into this cave, so the one below me must be deeper. There must be Pokémon that are capable of digging that deep, but the voice he heard was very childish. Zhang Xingyun was struggling in his heart whether to go and save it. Nidorino could dig deep underground, but if he encountered other Pokémon, it would be difficult to escape in that environment. But after listening to that childish cry for help, Zhang Xingyun couldn't bear it, and he was torn between heaven and man. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xingyun felt that he should save it. As long as he was careful, plus he could teleport, the danger would be a little more dangerous, and his intuition told him that he had to save it. Zhang Xingyun believed this feeling in the dark. Then, he entered another state. His mind and body were empty, and he sensed the cry for help. Hold on, I'll come to save you soon. But the cry for help did not respond, and it kept calling for help. Nidorino, dig in this direction. Zhang Xingyun stood up and patted some dust on his body and said to Nidorino, Nido? It's okay, just dig. Nidorino saw this and didn't say anything and started digging. Huoyedi sat on Zhang Xingyun's shoulder and Electabuzz followed behind. Hey boo, I feel a cry for help. Down here, my intuition tells me I have to go down to save it. Hey boo? Don't worry, it's not a big problem, as long as we are careful. Electabuzz nodded and didn't say anything. He just stood guard behind. Huoyedi sat on his shoulder, curiously looking at Nidorino who was working hard above. And Zhang Xingyun used his ability to the extreme, sensing that direction. Chapter 94, Young Kiras's Elf Egg. With a rustling sound, Nidorino dug the ground with his claws and slowly pushed forward. After digging for a while, Zhang Xingyun could sense the sound more clearly. Stop Nidorino first, you guys go into the Pokeball first. Zhang Xingyun took out the Pokémon and put Nidorino and the others into the Pokeball. He hid his own breath. More than 10 meters away, Zhang Xingyun sensed a dragon-headed mole running over. The energy fluctuations of the dragon-headed mole were at the elite level. So Zhang Xingyun put Nidorino and the others back into the Pokeball first and stopped digging. After the dragon-headed mole passed, after a while, he let Nidorino out and continued digging. Here, Zhang Xingyun didn't want to attract the attention of other Pokémon, especially elite level Pokémon. Zhang Xingyun took out a piece of Earth Rock Soul, and then took out 2 energy cubes and some water, and gave them to Nidorino to eat. After eating, he continued digging. Nidorino, hold on a little longer, we'll be there soon. Zhang Xingyun estimated that it should be more than 100 meters from the ground now. After digging for a while, there should be something. The digging of the hole was not very smooth, and he stopped while digging. Zhang Xingyun had to stop to sense the cry for help. The cry for help became weaker and weaker, but it was still calling for help. Stop first, Nidorino is moving. A large steel snake passed by from more than 10 meters above, and after a while, another large steel snake passed by. Why do I feel that they are also heading in that direction? Zhang Xingyun felt the direction in which several large steel snakes were heading, and was a little confused. After digging for a while, he stopped again, and several three-headed mice rushed over. Why are there more Pokémon the closer we get to there? Zhang Xingyun had the help of his supernatural power, and avoided many Pokémons, and prevented many unnecessary conflicts. Hey, why is there a very strong rock type and evil type energy? This is underground. It's impossible. Zhang Xingyun is somewhat sensitive to energy. When he dug here, he sensed these two energies. Strangely, these Pokémons also stopped moving, and no one knew what they were doing. Is that an egg? As Zhang Xingyun moved forward cautiously, judging from the feedback from his supernatural power, the voice that was calling for help was an egg, and a cracked egg at that. There is also a pressure from the level of a heavenly king. What's going on? While feeling the rich energy, Zhang Xingyun also felt a pressure. This is definitely a pressure from the level of a heavenly king. No wonder those elves stopped and didn't move forward. They are probably watching. In Tunnel 1, Nidorino had been put into the Pokéball. Zhang Xingyun took the shovel and moved forward slowly. In this way, he could hide his breath. If he was on the ground, facing these elites, it might not work, but there was a pressure from the heavenly king here, which interfered with the perception of these elves. And Zhang Xingyun also exchanged a breath-retaining item from the system. In order to exchange for this breath-retaining item, he spent a lot of energy points. But it can be concealed with Zhang Xingyun's ability to the greatest extent possible. It turned out that when Zhang Xingyun hid his breath, he had to stay still. With this breath-retaining item, he could slowly dig. The pressure from the heavenly king might be useful to these elves, but it was useless to Zhang Xingyun. Because Zhang Xingyun sensed that it was a green giant claw that was still dripping with blood. It only had breath and pressure, but no life force. Those elves were probably stunned for a while, and dared not move forward. This was convenient for Zhang Xingyun. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun had passed the elves that were approaching. It was about 10 meters away from the elf egg, and the system could also scan the egg. The information of the egg was displayed in the system interface. Name, Young Kyrus attributes, ground, rock qualifications, light blue characteristics, perseverance skills, bite, stare, ghost face, harsh sound, rockfall, dragon dance. Zhang Xingyun became a little excited. This was the initial form of the quasi-god Bangerus. Judging from the qualifications and skills, this young Kyrus, if there are sufficient resources to cultivate, will definitely be a powerful fighting force. Zhang Xingyun sensed that the vitality of this elf was fading, and the cry for help from telepathy became smaller and smaller. Let's go for it. This is a quasi-god. It's worth my risk. Zhang Xingyun gritted his teeth and continued to move forward. While the green giant claw is still useful, he must get rid of the egg as soon as possible. The green giant claw should be the claw of Bangulus. I don't know why it appeared here with the elf egg of young Kyrus. Moreover, the elf egg of young Kyrus was damaged. Some inexplicable liquid flowed out from the cracks on the elf egg. It was probably egg white. Zhang Xingyun quickly arrived at the location of the egg. The elf egg of young Kyrus was quite tenacious. It was stuck at a certain angle by two boulders. There were some cracks, but it had not broken yet. After Zhang Xingyun arrived, he first transferred his ability to the elf egg of young Kyrus. The elf egg also emitted a faint light. Zhang Xingyun sensed that the vitality of this elf egg was a little stronger, but it was still fading. It's troublesome. This is not optimistic. Zhang Xingyun looked solemnly at the elf egg that was flowing with juice, while the elves not far away thought that the giant claw was there and didn't notice this place. Zhang Xingyun quickly took out the tools to support the two stones. Then, he moved slowly. Zhang Xingyun didn't dare to use too much force, fearing that too much force would cause the elf egg of the young Kyrus to be destroyed. Raw squeak. The elves not far away were all agitated, as if they were moving forward. Zhang Xingyun also sensed it, but he still slowly moved the elf egg out, and a lot of sweat flowed on his forehead. A drop of sweat dripped from the tip of Zhang Xingyun's nose, but his hands didn't stop and moved slowly. It's almost there. While moving it out, he supplied energy to the elf egg to enhance its vitality. Nido Nido. Hey boo. The Nidolino in the elf ball were all urging Zhang Xingyun to move quickly, and even the usually silent giant claw mantis reminded him for the first time. Zhang Xingyun also knew that his current ability could sense 15 meters around him. Now, the 2 dragon-headed Diglets, the 3 Diglets, and Steelix have all appeared at the sensing point. They are just moving very slowly because they are worried about something. Zhang Xingyun's heart beat even louder. His palms were sweating. He didn't dare to call Nidorino and the others to help. Once they came out, the Sora would be exposed, and those Pokémon would definitely pounce on him. The vitality of the Pokémon egg of the young Kyrus in his hand was strengthened by the input of Zhang Xingyun's energy, but it weakened again after a while. It's almost there. Raw in this world, Steelix and other Pokémon were only 3 or 4 meters away from Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun felt the squeezing of the soil. It's finally done. Chapter 95 Successful Escape. After some effort, the Pokémon egg of the young Kyrus was finally taken out. He hurriedly took out the bandage and treated it, then disappeared from the spot with the Pokémon egg, and appeared 10 meters away from the tunnel the next moment. After a second, he disappeared again, and appeared again, and moved along the dug tunnel. After using the teleportation more than 10 times in a row, Zhang Xingyun was a little exhausted and was panting. He put the egg on the ground first, and took out a Pokémon hatching device from his backpack. Pokémon hatching devices are always available, and every trainer who goes out for adventure in the wild has some with them. They can only be used when encountering some Pokémon eggs. Looking at the Pokémon egg that was still oozing with juice, Zhang Xingyun frowned. If this is not done well, this Pokémon egg will become a dead egg. Zhang Xingyun transferred energy to the Pokémon egg again, and then put the Pokéball into the hatching device, and took it in his hand. He ran towards the direction of the cave entrance. If this young Kyrus can survive, then Zhang Xingyun will make a lot of money this time. Quasi-God. The market price is at least hundreds of millions, and you can't buy it, even if you have money. And in China, 90% of quasi-god elves like young Kyrus belong to the Pei family. This Pei family is famous for breeding young Kyrus, and the family strength is unfathomable. Finally out. It's difficult to go down, but easy to come up. There is no need to dig, and the speed of running all the way up is naturally very fast. Zhang Xingyun left the cave directly, and moved carefully in this area. He found another remote and safe place, and asked Nidorino to dig another small cave, and then hid in it. He covered the entrance of the cave for a while, and then took out the elf egg of young Kyrus. He took out some materials from the backpack. The problem of broken eggshells of elf eggs is also described in the breeding secrets. Zhang Xingyun's backpack also prepared a set of materials specifically for dealing with broken elf eggs. But it's just the ordinary kind, and Zhang Xingyun has no choice now. Pour those materials into the container, pour them in one by one according to a certain amount, and stir them a few times. He took out the instrument that can hold the elf eggs, took out the wet elf from the incubator, and put it away. He put some energy into it again, and then took out a brush, mixed it with the prepared materials, and smeared it on the elf eggs several times. He put in some energy again, and put it aside temporarily. Then, he took out other materials, ground them one by one, and put them into the new elf incubator. Zhang Xingyun also took out the earth rock soul, and added it in, and added the warm spring. After he was done, the sticky substance on the elf egg also dried up. Zhang Xingyun put in some energy again. Unfortunately, the egg liquid still flowed, but it was less, which was considered to be suppressed. Sure enough, the problem of the cracking of this elf egg is not so easy to solve. Zhang Xingyun could only put this elf into the incubator with the incubation liquid adjusted. These incubation liquids were the formulas that Zhang Xingyun had obtained after consulting the information and systematically pondering. The effect on the elf eggs was about 80%. But there was no other way at the moment, so he could only try this method. Fortunately, after being placed in the elf incubator, the vitality of the young Kyrus's elf egg became stronger. It is still absorbing the incubation liquid, but a little juice will still flow out. I don't know if it will have any problems, maybe it will be disabled or something. Looking at the elf egg that is still leaking juice, Zhang Xingyun said helplessly. Since Zhang Xingyun picked up the elf egg, it has been quiet. From this, it can be seen that the young Kyrus has a very strong sense of survival. If it weren't for Zhang Xingyun's extraordinary perception of life force, he might not be able to sense it. The end may be that he will become the food of those elves. The elf eggs of quasi-gods are a great tonic for them. Maybe they can comprehend a few skills after eating them. Fortunately, it was picked up by Zhang Xingyun. But the green giant claw that exudes the pressure of the King of Heaven is estimated to be eaten by a certain elf, which is also a great tonic. Little guy, you are lucky that I sensed it, Zhang Xingyun said to the elf egg with a smile. It was getting late outside, so he didn't plan to go out. He would just stay here tonight. After calling all the elves out, dividing the food, and giving them a few instructions, Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged and took a rest. This afternoon, the elf egg of young Kyrus alone was more than the sum of all his previous harvests. Now, the problem of the cracking of the elf egg of young Kyrus has been temporarily suppressed. He had to return to Changning City quickly, then buy those precious materials, and prepare a medicine that could cure the cracking problem. I wonder if the elf shell of a quasi-god will be different from an ordinary elf shell. After resting for a while, Zhang Xingyun saw Huayidi using a healing skill on the elf egg. Zhang Xingyun smiled at this. He took out his food from his backpack. The elves ate it, but he didn't. He was hungry now. After eating for a while, Zhang Xingyun wiped his mouth with some tissues. He walked to the elf egg and sat down. He said to the 4 Pokémons, "This may be your companion. It's called Young Kyrus, and its final evolution is Bankyrus." Hey boo, yes, it's Bankyrus, known as the monarch of the desert. It's a very powerful Pokémon, Zhang Xingyun explained. Hey boo, okay, I know you won't lose to it in the future. Come on, innate talent is important, but acquired efforts are also indispensable. Your talent is not low. As long as you train hard, your achievements will never be low, Zhang Xingyun said to the electric beast, and then turned his head and said to Nidorino and Pidgeot, "You two too, but you must not be arrogant or impatient, and keep it up." Nido Huayiti pulled Zhang Xingyun's clothes and pointed at herself with her little hand. "Huayiti, you too, although your talent is a little lower, you have to believe me, I will definitely help you improve your talent," Zhang Xingyun said to Huayiti very seriously. Huayiti smiled and nodded. "We will definitely become stronger, even if the current situation is a little difficult." Zhang Xingyun looked determinedly through the small hole at the dark night outside the cave. A few inexplicable roars came from a distance, which made people feel a little cold. Zhang Xingyun once again transferred energy to the elf egg of young Kyrus. "Now I will keep watch. You guys take a rest first, and then take turns to keep watch," Zhang Xingyun said to the 4 elves. Nido hey boo. There was no life in the cave, and the light source was the lamp that Zhang Xingyun took out from the space. It was not very bright, but with Zhang Xingyun's eyesight, he could see things. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96 Rescue. In the morning forest, a large piece of white mist was floating. The trees, flowers, and grass were all filled with dewdrops. When stepped on by boots, the dewdrops splashed all over the ground. Zhang Xingyun wore a breath-retaining item and moved quickly towards Changning. The elves were all in the elf balls, and the elf egg of young Kyrus was also placed in another layer of the backpack without internal space. The backpack was bulging. Space backpacks cannot hold living things. As long as they contain living things, they cannot be put in. At least Zhang Xingyun's space backpack cannot hold them. The breath-retaining item Zhang Xingyun wore was a jade pendant, which cost Zhang Xingyun a lot of energy in the system store. He patted the dew on his clothes, stood on a tall tree, and observed with a telescope. But after observing for a while, he was covered by the white mist, and it was all white. The reason why Zhang Xingyun appeared here now was because he encountered a group of big wolfhounds in the original cave and ran away early in the morning. If it weren't for the big wolfhound, he could still practice in the cave for a while. Zhang Xingyun reached out and picked a wild fruit. After checking it, he found it was not poisonous, so he started to eat it. It was quite sweet. Most of the elves were sleeping now, so it was a good opportunity to hurry on. Fluttering, a few bird elves flew by and started their day of foraging. I hope I'll be lucky today and make it back to Changning, or the signal will be restored. It's too uncomfortable. Zhang Xingyun looked at the zero signal on his phone and felt helpless. What he wanted most now was to get back to Changning City as soon as possible, because he had harvested enough. After the secret realm descended, the signal would be interfered with for a short period of time, so it was reasonable that Zhang Xingyun's phone had no signal now. With the help of instant teleportation, he moved quickly. Sometimes he would avoid elite elves if he sensed them. The sun was getting hotter and the thick fog dissipated. The movement in the forest also became louder. A large number of bad elves flew over in the sky, as if something was chasing them. Pidgeot, armored bird, etc., as well as some other flying elves, all flew to the center of Yangtze Forest. Rumble, the sound of thousands of horses galloping also rang out on the ground. There was also a vibration sound coming from the ground, but it was not as loud as when the secret realm descended. Zhang Xingyun appeared in the air, glanced at the source of the sound, and then appeared on the ground again. Wow, so many elves, why are they all rushing here? I wonder if there is anyone. Zhang Xingyun cursed while running. If he didn't run, he would definitely be trampled into a pulp. He moved quickly and glided with the help of the Pidgeot from time to time. Finally, he left the direction where the elves were running and stood on a small hillside next to him. Most of the elves that were driven were elite level, and occasionally there were a few quasi-king elves among them. This seems to be artificial, and they are driven to a direction with a purpose. Zhang Xingyun looked at the direction where the elves were moving, thought about it, and knew it. Sure enough, behind them, on the ground, and in the sky, there were king level elves chasing. From time to time, they attacked, and they looked very fierce. This time, we can at least drive away about 80% of the elves. Ling Feng, who was sitting on Charizard, said lightly while looking at the elves running away. There are also king level elves among these elves. Below Charizard, there was a mess, because a king level battle had just taken place here. It was just that Ling Feng won, and the king level elves in the secret realm were naturally killed. Otherwise, how could those elves be scared and run to the center of Yangtze Forest? The intelligence of the elves is not low, but they have been in the wild for a long time and are used to the rules of the wild. When it comes to their own lives, they must run away first. Distribute them and try to drive some of the elves that have run away to the center of the forest. If you meet a trainer, save them if you can. Remember? Ling Feng ordered. Yes. The men around Ling Feng responded and flew over on their elves. At this time, Zhang Xingyun was running on the side road, and those elves had little impact on him. Occasionally, a few elves that ran away could not find him. A breeze blew by. Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw a young man with a cold face riding a sonic dragon, looking down at Zhang Xingyun. Let's go. The young man glanced at Zhang Xingyun and said to the sonic dragon, let's go. The sonic dragon flapped its wings and flew to another place. Zhang Xingyun was also a little confused at this time. He thought he could take a ride. Seeing the young man's clothes, he knew he was an investigator. He just couldn't understand why the young man just looked at him coldly and flew away. This made him a little confused. If the young man didn't take him, he would walk out by himself. Anyway, it didn't matter. Mud legs. The young man standing on the sonic dragon said coldly. His name is Wei Heng, and he comes from a big family, the Wei family. He is also a genius trainer. With the support of his family, he is 26 this year. His main spirit sonic dragon has the strength of the early stage of the quasi-king. After graduating from university, he came to Changning City to serve as an investigator, and is currently the captain of the 7th search team. He also looked down on why Chief Prosecutor Ling Feng was so supportive of the poor. He also had some opinions on some of the support policies issued in recent years. In his opinion, most of the evil forces were participated by this kind of people, which brought so many troubles to the society. He came from a famous family and received high quality education since childhood. Now after graduation, he has also served as an investigator. He thinks that he has made contributions to the country. Unlike those mudlegs, they are either stealing chickens and dogs or joining evil organizations. Very few of them will abide by the law. So just now, when he saw Zhang Xingyun, he looked at him coldly and turned away when he saw his appearance. Zhang Xingyun didn't know what the young man was thinking. Now he was sitting on the warrior eagle. After Zhang Xingyun walked for a while, a warrior eagle flew down from the sky, and there was an uncle in a blue security uniform. After seeing Zhang Xingyun's appearance, he stated his identity and purpose, and then Zhang Xingyun took his warrior eagle. The warrior eagle was very fast, and it arrived at the entrance in a while. Unlike usual days, many soldiers appeared here, forming a line of defense. Xingyun, why are you here? As soon as he landed, Zhang Xingyun heard a familiar voice calling his name. Turning his head, he saw that it was Ling Feng who was passing by. Uncle Ling, I didn't expect to see you here. Seeing Ling Feng, Zhang Xingyun smiled and greeted him. Why are you here? Didn't you watch the news? A secret realm has just descended here, and the situation is not very stable. It's best not to go in now. Go back. Ling Feng looked at Zhang Xingyun, who was fully equipped, and advised. Chapter 97 Repairing the Elf Egg. I'm not going in, but I just came out. That uncle sent me out. Zhang Xingyun pointed at the uncle on the warrior eagle flying into the sky and said, you are lucky, you are fine. Go back and rest early. Seeing your backpack is bulging, you must have gained a lot. Ha ha ha, a small gain, a small gain. Zhang Xingyun scratched his head and said with a smile. By the way, your identity information should be updated. Tomorrow is Monday. Remember to bring your ID and go to the elf breeding house to collect the 3 great families. Today, a batch of 3 great families will come. Go early to choose. There are many choices. Ling Feng said lightly. As the chief search officer, he naturally knew this news, so he reminded Zhang Xingyun. Okay, I know. These reminders from Uncle Ling. I'll take my leave first. Well, let's go. Zhang Xingyun could only jog back with the electric beast. I took a taxi here before, so I can only walk a little further and see if there is a car to take. It may be that the secret realm has just arrived not long ago, and there are very few cars at the exit. But Zhang Xingyun was lucky and got a ride. He stopped at the Pokémon Center. Xiaoyan, I'm so glad you're okay. After you went there yesterday, the secret realm came, and the phone couldn't be reached. When Zhang Xingyun entered, there were not many people, so he chatted with Zhang Xiaoyu. It's okay, Sister Xiaoyu. During the chat, he handed in the task and earned more than 200,000 merit points. After saying goodbye to Zhang Xiaoyu, Zhang Xingyun left the Pokémon Center, took a taxi, and rushed to Boss Lee. He also had to sell some other harvests and buy some to deal with the cracking problem of young Kira's Pokémon eggs. Hey, brother Zhang is here. Sit for a while first. Boss Lee greeted Zhang Xingyun as soon as he entered the door. Boss Lee was greeting a customer now and was still bargaining. There was blood on the customer's clothes and his eyes were fierce. It can be seen that he was a trainer who made a living in the wild. Zhang Xingyun sat for a while and drank a few cups of tea handed over by the waiter in the store. Then it was his turn. Zhang Xingyun took out the shrunken Pokeballs and asked Boss Lee to check them. Some were kept for his own use, and the other treasures were also sold. Boss Lee's store has a special machine for testing qualifications, with an accuracy rate of 70%, which is reliable. Beedrill and some other Pokémon materials, as well as some treasures. Boss Lee offered a price of more than 700,000. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said, as for the price, I know you so well, brother, I'm sure you won't cheat me. What I want to ask is, brother, do you have this thing called dragon bone glue? If not, similar treasures will also work. This dragon bone glue is not cheap. I do have some here. How much do you want? Boss Lee pinched his beard and asked. This, I need 1 kilogram. I wonder how much it is. Since it's what you want, brother, I happen to have 1 kilogram here. I'll give you a discount. How about 1 million? After hearing this, although Zhang Xingyun was somewhat prepared in his heart, he was still surprised by the price. We are so familiar with each other. How can you afford to rip me off like this? Are you trying to take advantage of me? Zhang Xingyun's tone became a little bad. He could say dragon bone glue, so he naturally knew the price. As far as he knew, a kilogram weighing one would sell for about 700,000 yuan. Boss Lee actually offered a price of 1 million yuan, which made him a little angry. Haha, brother, don't get me wrong, you get what you pay for. The dragon bone glue on the market is for those sub-dragons, and mine is a pure dragon. 1 million yuan is still low. Boss Lee was not angry at Zhang Xingyun's questioning, but laughed and answered. In that case, then let me see it. After listening to Boss Lee's words, he asked him to take it out. Zhang Xingyun wanted to see it with his own eyes. Boss Lee took out a jar from the storage space and scooped out a spoonful of light red sticky substance. A faint smell of blood came to his face, accompanied by an inexplicable fragrance. Very good, I'll buy it. After observing it once, Zhang Xingyun bought it. How much is this water stone worth? Zhang Xingyun took out the intermediate water stone he had obtained in the Luohu secret realm. The primary ones had been sold, and now considering that they were not needed for the time being, he took out this water stone to see how much it was worth. Wait a minute, let me check the quality. After taking the water stone from Zhang Xingyun, Boss Lee observed it for a while, then took out a small machine and measured it. This is an intermediate water stone, and the energy loss is a bit high. I offer it for 600,000. Are you still selling it? More. It's so familiar. Zhang Xingyun bargained. Although it was familiar, it was still necessary to bargain. Besides, Boss Lee would not necessarily lose money. Zhang Xingyun might make a small profit, but Boss Lee would definitely not lose money. Since you said so, how about I give you an extra 20,000? Give me a little more. It's not easy for me to get this water stone. Add another 30,000. This is the only price. If it's more, I won't make much profit. I have to do business too. Look at the rent, water, electricity, etc. I don't make much money. I can only make hard-earned money, all for the landlord. Okay then. Seeing that Boss Lee said so, Zhang Xingyun stopped while he was ahead. At your previous 720,000, a total of 1.37 million. Excluding this 1 million, there are 370,000 left. Do you need anything else? Buy it. I can give you a discount. Okay. After replenishing some supplies, he said goodbye and left. When Zhang Xingyun walked out of the store, there were more than 100,000 in his bank card, including the credit card he paid off before. There is still a balance of more than 400,000. In the backpack, the honeycomb was not sold, and the earth rock soul was not sold. There are also some other precious things that have not been sold. These are definitely not enough to train young Kyrus. I heard that this will cost a mountain. Zhang Xingyun looked up at the sky and decided to raise it. Don't expose it yet. Wait until you reach the elite level and have a certain strength. Quasi-gods are still very rare. If they are noticed by some jealous people, it may be safer in the city, but in the wild, this quasi-god is enough to arouse their greed. After Zhang Xingyun returned home, he immediately took out the incubator from his backpack. Inside the device, the elf egg was still emitting a little juice. Zhang Xingyun quickly took out the materials and mixed them. Pour the mixed materials on the container, and then took out the dragon bone glue, and poured 1/3 into it. It became more viscous. After stirring for a while, he took out the bracket specially used to support the elf eggs, took out the wet elf egg, and put it on. Spread the mixed materials on it. Put it aside. Take out a few other treasures. Prepare a nutrient solution. Pour it into the incubator, and then put the elf egg in. This time, the elf did not emit juice, but the crack still needs to be dealt with. Chapter 98 Intermediate Energy Cube. It was almost noon. Zhang Xingyun took out the ingredients from the refrigerator and prepared a lunch casually. After eating, Zhang Xingyun returned to the house and deduced the data of Yuanling. Zhang Xingyun did not find the formula of the intermediate energy block on the official website, nor did he find it from Boss Lee or other channels. Only from large chain stores such as Langayu store can you buy intermediate energy blocks, but there is naturally no formula. I don't know why, I just can't find it. Zhang Xingyun guessed that this might only be available in the Cultivation Association, but he doesn't even have a certificate now, and he has no way. Or it must be available in some big families. Families like the He family and the Yi family should have it. If not, Zhang Xingyun will find a way to make it. With the system's excellent computing and reasoning capabilities, it can also use energy values for 3D deduction, which is still possible. This 3D deduction was configured by chance when checking the system afterwards. Only the universal energy block Yuanling is easier to study, so I started with the difficult, and then the easy, and started to study the intermediate version of this Yuanling energy block. This has been studied intermittently for more than a month. Since the production of Air Force One, Zhang Xingyun has started this. At that time, I couldn't find it on the official website, and I couldn't find it on other websites, so I came up with this idea. It will be used someday. Zhang Xingyun has a bigger ambition, which is to launch advanced energy blocks, but now I can't even deduce the data of an intermediate energy block. Your energy is 80 points left, and the deduction time is 5 minutes. Please pay attention to the master. The system's prompt made Zhang Xingyun more focused. When the energy value was left with 10 points, Zhang Xingyun stopped the system. Looking at the data on the system interface, Zhang Xingyun felt a little more confident. The reason why this system is used for deduction is that Zhang Xingyun feels that those energy blocks are also the result of repeated experiments by human ancestors. He can use the system to deduce, that is, it can be obtained in theory. This intermediate version is deduced based on the primary version. Zhang Xingyun had nothing to do in the afternoon, so he planned to try making an intermediate energy block. As long as he could make an intermediate energy block, he would have another way to make money, and it was a low-risk way. Walking out of the study, Electabuzz and Florid were watching TV, Nidorino was exercising on the huge treadmill, and Pidgeot was combing its feathers. The Pokémon eggs on the table were more energetic than before. After seeing the Pokémon eggs, Zhang Xingyun pinched his brows. A mountain of money. I have to make money quickly, before it is born. Now this Pokéball of the young Kyrus has been damaged, and after Zhang Xingyun's treatment, I don't know when it will hatch. Taking the Pokémon eggs and the 4 Pokémons with him, Zhang Xingyun went to the club first, and put the 4 Pokémons there for training. With the giant claw mantis there, he didn't need any of the 4 to follow him. Then he rushed to the breeding store and opened a higher-end machine room. He bought a batch of more expensive berries and raw materials and started making them. This batch of stuff is enough for him to try several times, so he can give it a try. High-grade equipment, unlike low-grade equipment, will clean and heat itself. Zhang Xingyun cut the fruit and put it in. His supernatural power was constantly sensing the changes in the fruit. He added several kinds of fruit in succession, and everything was normal now. After adding the essence replenishing liquid, the viscous substance inside became unstable. Zhang Xingyun quickly cooled it down in an attempt to delay the violent reaction of the energy. Hiss, 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 the machine emitted black smoke, announcing the failure of this production. The materials put in were useless, which also meant the data was wrong. Zhang Xingyun fell into deep thought. According to what I saw just now, after adding the essence replenishing liquid, it reacted violently. Is it a dosage problem? Or a problem with the order of putting it in? Or something else? He calculated it in the system again. The system's calculation was not 100% correct, and it could only be calculated based on a certain foundation. In the system store, there is a recipe for an intermediate energy block, but it requires 8,000 energy points. 8,000. An energy stone worth 100,000 elf coins can provide 100 energy points, which means that 80 such energy stones are needed, costing 8 billion. Maybe there is a discount because of buying more, but this practice is too strange. And Zhang Xingyun uses his own energy to recharge, and he can only get more than 10 energy points a day. Neither of these two works, so he can only try to infer. There are a few good things in the backpack, but they have other uses. After that, Zhang Xingyun tried again and again. If he failed, he would sort out the data, make deductions, and then conduct experiments. Zhang Xingyun stopped only when all the purchased raw materials were used up. It was 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Zhang Xingyun sighed, packed up, and went to the machine room to check out. In the anime of the previous life, the machine for making energy cubes was very small, and Zhang Xingyun remembered that he just had to throw the tree fruit into it. But the reality is, not only is the machine very large, but it also requires this and that, which is very troublesome. Oh, it's too difficult. Zhang Xingyun walked out of the cultivation store and rode an electric bike to the club. I thought that, after sorting out these data and getting a high configuration machine, I could get it right again and again. Several months of work cannot be worth 8 million yuan. Zhang Xingyun murmured as he drove. The system's 3D deduction may not be 100% successful. If the reasoning is wrong at the source, it is likely to be wrong if it is not deduced. But it is not without gain. I updated some data, sorted it out again, and tried again. Zhang Xingyun is not a person who gives up easily. If he fails today, he will try again, if he has the chance. As long as the second time is better than the first time, it is progress and closer to success. After bringing Nidorino home, Zhang Xingyun took out the energy cubes for them to eat. Now the batch of energy cubes in his hand can last for about 10 days, and he has to make more when the time is up. Originally, he was going to have a meal in the restaurant, but Zhang Xingyun saw that there were only a few thousand yuan left on his mobile phone, so he went back home. As usual, he went into the study to continue his research. Zhang Xingyun's situation at this time is also the situation of many poor families. Resources have to be earned by themselves, and elves have to be cultivated by themselves, without reference objects. The guidance of school teachers is definitely not as good as the dedicated teaching of those quasi-kings or kings. After sorting out today's data, a new database was created. It is named Young Kyros's training plan. Zhang Xingyun's training data for each elf is backed up in the system. Now, it is also possible to specify it in advance for Young Kyros. There are no secrets for the cultivation of Young Kyros on the internet, perhaps because it is rare, or perhaps few people cultivate it. The books Zhang Xingyun is reading now have very few descriptions of quasi-god elves. Not only Young Kyros, but also quasi-god elves such as Mini Dragon and Round Land Shark. Chapter 99. Selecting the 3 great families. The next day, after getting up and exercising, he went home to wash up. He had breakfast, and then rode his electric bike to the elf breeding house. Ling Feng said that his identity information had been updated, and a group of 3-legged elves had just arrived in Changning. Zhang Xingyun went there early today, fearing that others would pick them all. As for going to school, it is more important to choose elves, and study can be put aside. He parked the car, put down his motorcycle helmet, and walked into the breeding house. He went directly to the information registration office, took out his ID to register with the young lady sitting at the computer, and then passed the fingerprint and face recognition. "Hello, sir, please follow me." After registering, the young lady's attitude became more respectful, and she led Zhang Xingyun to choose 3-legged elves. Another person sat down at the computer. "Do you have many 3-legged elves here? Please introduce them in detail," Zhang Xingyun asked as he walked. "It's like this, sir. We have a new batch of 3-legged elves here yesterday. There are elf eggs and elves that have been hatched not long ago. You can choose until you are satisfied." The young lady replied respectfully. "Miss, you don't have to be so restrained. I'm also a worker like you." Zhang Xingyun looked at the somewhat nervous young lady in front of him and chuckled. "No, how can I compare with you? You are now a direct descendant, and you may be a high-ranking official in the government in the future." After hearing Zhang Xingyun's words, the young lady also smiled and replied, "Who can say for sure what will happen in the future? I'll push it." When they arrived at a door that looked very heavy, the young lady was about to push the door, and Zhang Xingyun took the initiative to help push it. "Is this a sunroom?" After entering the door, you can still feel the dazzling light, but this is not the real sun. There is a field of about dozens of acres, planted with various tree fruits. Limu fruit, pomelo fruit, wood fruit. There are many tree fruits here. Under the fruit tree, Zhang Xingyun also saw a few chrysanthemums running over, and also saw a few Bulbasaur seeds lying on the ground leisurely, basking in the sun. There are also a few wood geckos on the tree trunk, biting the branches, very cold. Feeling someone was looking at it, it looked at Zhang Xingyun coldly, and then flashed and disappeared. In this sunroom, Zhang Xingyun saw many grass-type Pokémons. After testing with the system, they were all very good. A few buzzbats flew over, and a few caterpillars ran on the ground. There were not only Pokémons here, but also other Pokémons. There were yellow, green, and blue, which made Zhang Xingyun very excited. There were more green ones, accounting for the majority, and the blue ones were the least. Like the wood gecko that Zhang Xingyun saw just now, it was blue quality, very good. Zhang Xingyun shook his head. He wanted to take a look at other Pokémons. Sir, which Pokémon did you like? This one. I want to take a look. Okay, then after you finish looking at this grass type, I'll take you to see the fire type. Okay. After a while, Zhang Xingyun came to a room with a very high temperature. It was also built to imitate a volcano, and the fire type Pokémons in it were very lively. Several hot-tempered Pokémons were still fighting. Charmander vs Charmander. Then, he went to the 3 water-based Pokémons and observed them. There was the handsome frog, the sturdy water leap, the lively and cute crocodile. Sir, you haven't found a Pokémon you like yet? Look at that water leap, it's pretty good. Looking along the water finger, a sturdy water leap was swimming. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said, it's really good. The water leap's aptitude was light green, and the moves it learned included Primal Power, Water Tail, and Refreshed. Zhang Xingyun was also very tempted. Just as he was about to ask for this one, his ability suddenly sensed a fluctuation. Is this a Wava guide? Zhang Xingyun's ability feedback was a fluctuation, which was very similar to the supernatural power Wava guide power. Wait, can I go in through this door? After sensing the direction of the Wava guide, he asked. Yes, there are Pokémon eggs inside, but sir, that water leap is really good. Wouldn't you consider it? I see you are very tempted. The young lady kindly reminded him. In previous years, there were always people who came to claim the 3 great Pokémons. They liked this one, then that one, and finally someone else picked one, so they could only choose a lesser one. It's a little early now, so there aren't many people. There will be more, and more people later. While they were talking, 3 or 4 people came in, and it seemed that they were also here to choose the 3 great Pokémons. It's okay, I'll go and see the Pokémon eggs. Zhang Xingyun was silent for a moment, but he still planned to go and see the Pokémon eggs. Okay, please follow me. Pushing open the door, there were many Pokémon eggs placed in the incubator. Zhang Xingyun relied on his senses and walked to a light blue Pokémon egg. It was this Pokémon that emitted waves and attracted his attention. Could it be Riolu? Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. Most of the Pokémons that can be claimed by the direct lineage are the 3 great Pokémons, but there are also other Pokémons. Riolu is also a possibility. Zhang Xingyun scanned it with the system, and the information of this Pokémon egg was displayed. Name, Squirtle, male, attribute, water qualification, deep blue characteristics, torrent skills, impact, tail shaking, rocket headbutt, shell shrinking, water gun, wave missile. I want this. After observing with the system, Zhang Xingyun pointed at Squirtle's Pokémon egg and said, are you sure about this, sir? Don't you choose a Pokémon that has already hatched? There are still some discrepancies in this Pokémon egg. The young lady advised. Thank you for your advice. I'll take this one. No need to say more. Okay then. Zhang Xingyun stepped forward to pick up the Pokémon egg and followed the young lady out. Registered at the computer in the lobby, signed, and took a photo. After waiting for the supervisor to sign, Zhang Xingyun declined the items recommended by the young lady and left the breeding house directly. The backpack was filled with 2 Pokémon eggs, which looked very bulging, but there was no way. I couldn't leave the Pokémon egg of the young Kyrus at home. What if it was stolen? Although the probability was a bit low, it was still stolen. It was just a small goal that was gone. Zhang Xingyun wanted to cry, but had no place to cry. Ride my beloved little motorcycle. It will never get stuck in traffic. Zhang Xingyun was in a good mood after picking this Squirtle egg. He felt that his luck had changed recently. First, he got the egg of the young Kyrus, and now he got the egg of the Squirtle. He was possessed by the Emperor of Luck. He survived a disaster and will have good fortune in the future. After returning home, he prepared hatching liquid for Squirtle. After pouring the newly prepared hatching liquid, the Squirtle egg flashed slightly. The Squirtle in front of him, after hatching, is the best elf among all the elves Zhang Xingyun has. The egg of the young Kyrus is probably broken, and it may improve its qualifications after recovery. Chapter 100. The benefits of a direct trainer. Among the skills of this Squirtle, there is the skill of Wave Missile, which shows that Squirtle has a very high waveguide talent. Zhang Xingyun guessed that Squirtle's father might be the Steel Cannon Arm Shrimp. Moreover, the waveguide talent of the Steel Cannon Arm Shrimp is also very high. The Wave Missile plus the Super Launcher feature is very powerful. When Squirtle evolves into Blastoise, and then Super evolves, with the characteristics of Super Turret, the damage will be even more considerable. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xingyun took out his mobile phone, and made a call. He called Wang Yu. For the 2 Pokémon eggs, Zhang Xingyun decided to take it with him. It was a bit inconvenient to go to school, because there were many people. He planned to take a few days off. As for the knowledge of the school, he had almost learned it. Zhang Xingyun was very confident that, even if he could not get full marks, he could get 90%. Soon the call was connected. Zhang Xingyun explained the reason, and Wang Yu agreed. 3 days of vacation were approved. It turned out that the novice competitions of several schools were coming up these days, and the 2 teachers Wang Yu and Zhao Mingshang were going to lead the team to other schools. So these days, there are fewer classes in class 20. After the call, a new message caught Zhang Xingyun's attention. Clicking on it, it showed a special official website. Inside, there are good things that can't be seen outside, such as elves. There are many elves here that can be exchanged with merit points. For example, a dark green tooth is priced at 50,000 merit points, and people who have successfully registered can buy it. Register? Zhang Xingyun flipped it, and saw a website. He clicked on it, and looked at the novice guide. It turned out that this website is an online platform for the direct line, to communicate and exchange things, and there are also many good things released by the government. But you need to register and pass the verification. Zhang Xingyun registered with his own documents and successfully verified his real name. He looked at the merit points, and found that it was only more than 1,500. Before this website, Zhang Xingyun used merit points to buy a lot of information courses. He also exchanged the school's points for merit points, and with the money he earned from completing tasks before, he only had more than 1,500 left. This website has shopping, chat forums, and live entertainment. Many things that are available outside can be found here. But what is available here is not available outside. There is actually a live class on making tree fruits here, and you only need 100 merit points to enter. Zhang Xingyun went to the chat forum again, and clicked on a topic about energy blocks. There was actually someone answering questions there. Looking at the introduction of that person, he was an intermediate cultivator who could successfully produce more than 10 kinds of intermediate energy. He was a cultivator in Xianfu province. This website is real name, probably true. It's just that you need merit points to ask questions, which is not expensive. 200 merit points for one question. If you ask 5 times, you will get 1 free. Zhang Xingyun thought about it, then clicked in, paid the merit points, and typed the question he wanted to ask. Senior, may I ask, after I finished using 100 grams of apple wild fruit, I added 50 milliliters of PO and liquid. Why is it unstable and scrapped? The materials I have put in are orange fruit. After typing, he sent it out. Ding dong. Soon Zhang Xingyun's phone rang. Click it. You put too little pomelo fruit. I suggest you put in 100 milliliters of cold spirit water. Can you? Zhang Xingyun took a look and suddenly realized something. Then senior, may I ask why the blood paste made from blood grass becomes very sticky and scrapped? Ding dong. That's because you. Zhang Xingyun used up all his merit points and gained a lot. He also understood a lot of knowledge. Now, he is more confident about making the intermediate energy cube of Yuanling. Most of Zhang Xingyun's questions were about pharmacology, but he didn't ask any questions about the techniques. Zhang Xingyun took out his notebook and continued to swipe, calling up the system and adjusting them one by one. Time soon came to 2 o'clock. Zhang Xingyun's stomach growled, and he noticed the time. It's 2 o'clock, and I haven't given Nidorino and the others food yet. Zhang Xingyun got up and stretched his body, then walked out. Nidorino and the others were resting on the side, and the remaining food on the table for breakfast disappeared at this time. I'm sorry, I was so engrossed that I forgot the time. Zhang Xingyun said apologetically. Hey boo Nido Nido. The elves didn't blame him. They also knew that Zhang Xingyun was so engrossed for them. Eat these energy cubes first. I'll cook something for you. Zhang Xingyun wiped his hands and walked into the kitchen. While Zhang Xingyun was busy, Yeti came over. Yes, put more salt. Yeti also helped Zhang Xingyun pick vegetables and asked how to cook. Zhang Xingyun also answered. The kitchen was still a little crowded. If the electric beast came to help, it would be very crowded, and Yeti just didn't know how to cook. Zhang Xingyun was also happy to tell Yeti how to cook delicious food, and he supported Yeti's hobby. After it was cooked, it was brought out. Nidorino and the others had lived with Zhang Xingyun for a long time, and they also like to eat some hot food. After eating the energy cubes, although the energy is a bit low, it tastes very good. Zhang Xingyun gathered together and ate with the Pokémon. After eating, it was still Electabuzz who went to wash the dishes, and Florisha helped to clean up. Nidorino and Pidgeot were a little inconvenient, so they sat aside. Pokémon can do housework, which is normal in this society. Some restaurants even use Pokémon as waiters. Pokémon like the wall doll. In the anime, there is also a wall doll in Zyos's home, helping Zyos's mother with housework. Claus eats one meal a day. Zhang Xingyun also called it for this meal. It didn't want to come out, so Zhang Xingyun let it go. It is worthy of special training. Claus can actually sit in the Pokeball. It is really amazing. It will only come out for a walk at night. Zhang Xingyun looked at his mobile phone and found that his credit limit has been increased to 8 million, and there is a subsidy of 30,000 Pokémon coins every month. There are also some other benefits, such as half-price treatment, half-price accommodation in the trainer hotel opened by the government, and other benefits. Of course, while enjoying the benefits, one also has to fulfill some obligations, such as temporary conscription, assisting the search officer, etc. Zhang Xingyun took the elves out, as usual, put the elves in the club first, and opened a training room for them. After explaining the direction and content of the training to them, he rushed to the cultivation store. He bought another batch of raw materials, opened the original machine room, and started making intermediate energy blocks again. After getting answers to the questions raised, Zhang Xingyun had a better understanding of this intermediate energy block, and was more confident in making this energy block. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.